If you're a Franklin senior, come for an affordable breakfast or lunch at the Franklin Senior Center Common Grounds Cafe. Enjoy good food and good friends. Call 508-520-4945 for details. That's 508-520-4945. A broadcasting outreach of Franklin.tv. This is WFPRLP 102.9, Franklin Public Radio. And worldwide, 24/7 at WFPR.FM. It's so nice to have you with us today.
Welcome to the wonderful world of wine. We are your hosts, Mark Lindsay and Kim Simone, exploring all things wine with you. You can find us on Facebook at The Wonderful World of Wine. Hello again, everybody. Hi, Kim. How are you?
I'm great, Mark. How are you?
Everything is fine. I'm just excited to talk more wine with our listeners today. Every
Wonderful.
week, Kim and I get together and discuss articles we find searching the web and all things wine related and what we think are interesting.
We're
And
always thinking about
today-
wine, so
Yeah. And we're
Bubbling
trying to
away
get
in
our
our brains.
listeners on the same wavelength as us here, Kim, so we can put the wine in their minds too, and with some questions or topics so they can discuss and give us questions along the way. And the first article we have, again, is from our buddies at Wine Enthusiast. We're still looking for...
Good evening. Time being 7 o'clock, I call the October 5th, 2022 meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Announcements from the chair. All citizens are now welcome to attend public board and committee meetings in person. Meetings are live streamed by Franklin TV and shown on Comcast Channel 11 and Verizon Channel 29. In an effort to maximize citizen engagement opportunities, citizens will be able to continue to participate remotely via phone, or you may click the Zoom link that is on the posted agenda and on the town's website. The phone number is 929-205-6099. And then you need to enter the meeting ID, which is 844-6973-4014, and then you need to hit the pound sign. Once again, the Zoom ID is 844-6973-4014 pound. If residents are just interested in watching the meeting, it will also be live streamed by Franklin TV. Second announcement is in regards to the municipal aggregation. And if you've been tuning into the news, you know that Massachusetts customers through National Grid and Eversource are expected to have rising electricity rates. Residents are reminded that through Franklin's municipal aggregation program, you don't have to worry. Simply put, municipal aggregation is when a town utilizes the buying power of the residents and small businesses to bulk purchase an electricity rate for a predetermined amount of time. Leveraging our purchase capacity allows the town of Franklin to potentially have a lower electricity rate than an individual user may have received. Residents who did not opt out of our municipal aggregation program will not see an increase in the price per kilowatt through our contracted purchase cycle, which ends November 2023. You can check if you're enrolled by taking a look at your energy bill. If you see Dynegy Energy named as your supplier, then you are enrolled. The town has provided a sample bill online for you to compare your billing statements before and after enrolling. Please note that the changes may take up to 2 billing cycles to be processed, which means now is the perfect time for you to make the most of this program if you haven't already. You can opt in to this program by visiting colonialpowergroup.com/Franklin/ or by calling the supplier, Dynegy, directly at 866-220-5696. Once again, the phone number is 866-220-5696. This information is also available on the Town of Franklin website by clicking on the Municipal Aggregation quick link from the home page. And just to give you an example, the negotiated rate that the town has negotiated is 10.7 cents per kilowatt hours. If you have opted out, and based upon the information that we've been given of up to a 60% increase to those people that have opted out, those people will be paying somewhere between 17 and 20 cents a kilowatt hour as compared with the negotiated rate that the town negotiated at 10.7 cents a kilowatt hour. So it is certainly something that our residents and our local businesses should be taking advantage of. Okay, moving on. Citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? And I know our town clerk would. Please, just identify yourself,
Nancy Danello, Town Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a little close. So I'm here to update the voters of Franklin and yourselves about the election that's coming up on November 8th. We will have in-person early voting here at the town hall, so don't go to the high school. No one will be at the high school. We have the hours and dates on the town clerk's website. Go to franklinma.gov and navigate to the town clerk's page. I'll be here Saturday, the 29th, October 29th, from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. That's the last day to register to vote. It's going to be a long day, so please come and register to vote. Come and visit me. Bring me a coffee. Just kidding. I have not received the ballots yet. I have contacted the state. They tell me that I should have them on or before the 12th of October. I have over 6,000 early ballots, vote by mail ballots to get out. I have a crew of 20 people on standby. As soon as they come in, we'll work day and night to ensure that these ballots are out. Please, when you receive your ballot, I only ask that, I can't trust the mail. If you receive your ballot, the timeline is very tight. I shouldn't say if you receive your ballot, when you receive your ballot. The timeline is tight. Please, I have 2 ballot boxes. Drop them off if at all possible, just to ensure, God bless you, just to ensure that we do get them before the election day on November 8th. Second, we will be doing advanced opening and advanced deposit. What does that mean, you ask? So we will be opening the ballot envelopes. We're going to open them starting October 28th at 9 a.m. Observers are welcome. We're going to have this in the training room here at the town hall. So October 28th through November 4th, we'll be opening the ballots. Again, I'll have a crew of 20 people doing this. On November 5th, we'll be depositing the ballots. I will be depositing them into each tabulator. We now have 9 precincts. I'm going to set up the 9 tabulators up at the high school. I'll have 2 people working each precinct, depositing those ballots into the tabulators. Now, we will not run the tapes. So the ballots are going to go into the tabulator. I'm not going to run the tape. I'm going to pull the memory card out of that tabulator. On the night of the election at 8 o'clock, I'll run the tapes for the people who have come in to vote in person on November 8th, remove that memory card, insert the memory card for the early deposit, and that's when the numbers will be run. I will have no idea on what the numbers are until November 8th at 8 p.m. Lastly, this, wrong. There's 4 questions on the ballot, okay? I get calls every single day. Where's the 4th question? There's only 3 questions. There are 4 questions. I have a packet downstairs in my office. I can email you the packet with the 4 questions. Please just be aware there are 4 questions. And I think that's it. Thank you. Have a great night, and I appreciate you allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Nancy. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, is there anyone out in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Not seeing anything. Alicia, you see anything? No. Okay, we will move on. We have no minutes to approve, no proclamations or recognitions, no appointments. We do have one hearing scheduled for 7 o'clock. And the hearing is Chapter 61A, Town's Right of First Refusal to purchase approximately 113 acres of land together with any and all buildings and any other improvements thereon located at 215 Prospect Street, Franklin. Again, this is a public hearing on this issue. Jamie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm going to give an overview of a presentation of the town's right of first refusal to purchase what's commonly known as Schmidt Farm. I should really, right out of the gate, let everybody know that we did have the formal public hearing also last night at the Community Preservation Committee, and the committee endorsed the purchase of this property by a unanimous 8-0 vote. So that was excellent news. And I want to thank, as I think everybody would, all the folks, some of our in attendance tonight, but all the citizens that showed up last night, both in person and on Zoom. It was great to see a great crowd comment and give some thoughts. So a lot of people have some questions. Hopefully the PowerPoint will give an outline of what the proposal is before the community. I just want to also, for the council, let you know, this is just the public hearing tonight. If this moves forward, which I assume based on the CPC recommendation, the actual consideration of the legislation and the purchase and sale would actually be, on the October 19th agenda in 2 weeks. So there's no formal legislation tonight. It's just the public hearing and the overview. Really quickly, for those at home that may not know, Chapter 61, 61A, and 61B of the Mass General Laws outlines, is basically a set of statutes that's been enacted for many, many decades to give property tax breaks or deference in some cases to maintain productive agricultural, forested, or passive recreation uses for private landowners who have eligible parcels. To enroll in Chapter 61, you need a minimum of 5 acres or greater on that land. And many people ask me all the time, well, how many are in Franklin? And so we've quantified it a bit. There's about 1,200 acres in Franklin that are enrolled in Chapter 61 or 61A or 61B, which is about technically 58 properties in town approximately, but it's really 20 or so blocks of land. I've put the map up here in the PowerPoint, but there's also a map here in the council chamber. If anybody in person wants to go take a look at it, they can see the status of Chapter 61 properties in town. They are fluid from year to year, so some, couple parcels here or there may not be accurate based on the property owner, but for the most part, that's the basic Franklin summary. We have the PowerPoint presentation online. There's some links in here. If people are really interested in learning everything you've ever wanted to know about Chapter 61, I'm not going to talk about it anymore tonight, but they can click on the Mass Association of Conservation Commission's webpage. They have an extraordinarily in-depth presentation and overview on Chapter 61 for those. And I also should give a plug to the AgCom in town, who I know have had some other guest speakers at their meetings, and I know that they've been doing a lot of education and outreach efforts throughout the entire community to those landowners about how to enroll in 61, eligibility, and some of the details. So under Chapter 61, there's essentially 2 different rights of first refusal. The first example is the one last year this community went through, Maple Hill. That situation was there was a fully permitted project through the Planning Board and Conservation Commission. And the reason you go through that process is to find out what the maximum value of your land's value really is after wetlands and other considerations are taken into effect. And so many of you, actually all of you, or almost all of you on the council went through this experience last summer with Maple Hill. That's the more traditional route. And if you look in Massachusetts, particularly in Metro West, the process that went through Maple Hill is traditionally the process where a landowner goes before a planning board, they get a permit for a certain amount of homes or commercial, industrial, or whatever it might be, and then you have 120 days to exercise your right of first refusal. The community of Franklin is going to be the lucky recipient within 2 years to find out how to exercise the rights of refusal on both processes, because Schmidt's Farm is a complete inverse process, the other process that's allowed under state law. And basically, a landowner has to declare a change of use from agriculture in this example. And in this example, the property owner informed the community that they wish to change the use from agriculture to residential, okay? Which essentially triggers the second process in state law regarding 61. I can assure you this process takes a long time. I had about 5, 6, 7, 8 other slides up here to explain the cumbersome statutory appraisal process that has to go on, but I'm going to save you guys another half hour or so of presentation time. It is very complicated, but if you really think about both of them, both procedures are outlining what the maximum potential value of that property is, and both procedures take away the hypothetics of what could be or what couldn't be, And they really both take generally the same amount of time. The Maple Hill permitting process took 1 year to 2 years. And so when I say up here on the slide, this negotiation process and appraisal process took over 1 year, they're really kind of synonymous. It's just up to whichever process the seller and the landowner wants to go through. So before the town this evening, in the next couple of weeks, before the town is the option to purchase 113 acres of the Schmidt Farm parcel. Parcel ID is up there, and the price is $3.8 million. For those of you that were here last year, this is 113 acres for $3.8 million. Maple Hill was $4.5 million for about 70 acres. We'll see some maps in a minute, but this parcel does abut already a couple of other town-owned parcels around the edges. But for the most part, there's very few other connectivity points. There's some other easements we'll talk about in a minute. But generally speaking, the parcel is fairly landlocked. And the seller, as part of this proposal, Mr. Schmidt, will be retaining 2 acres for the purpose of building 1 house lot on that property. So for those folks that are in the audience or watching from home or go up Prospect Street, right up here on the map, right around the corner is the infamous bend, right around the entrance and the driveway, if you can follow my pointer, into Schmidt Farm. Up here in the left corner is a green shaded parcel, right on the edge of the driveway. That is the proposed 2 acres that the Schmidt family would retain as part of this proposal. As part of this proposal, the seller will be responsible for the removal of debris or other materials. For those of you that are familiar, there are just some piles of other material that are over here, some farm equipment, shovels, rakes, maybe a pile of tires, and some unused propane tanks and some other things that have been left on the property for many years. All of this will have to be cleaned out by the seller and the owner. The seller has, under this proposal, be granted until July 1st of 2023 to remain in the structure, which is right here, the house, as a transitionary period, to give the family some time to be able to construct, pour the foundation, and build the home up on the parcel. Due to the supply chain issues and the worries everybody has with residential, with any development these days, we did negotiate with the landowner an additional 60-day option. If for some reason they run into any hiccups along the way, that option would be good through roughly Labor Day of 2023. While the landowner is on as part of this transitionary period, they've also agreed to maintain the lawn mowing and maintain the property as it currently is during this transitionary process. So just so to acclimate everybody, there's the current residential structure. Then this is the barn over here, and this is the Quonset hut on the back of the property. Some maps here in the audience as well, but I just want to let everybody, this is just a simple satellite view. We're going to go into some more in-depth slides in a minute that will focus in a little bit closer. But it gives you a better aerial view of what the town is purchasing. Through around this red area is what the town would be considering this evening. And then again, up in the corner would be the 2 acres for the Schmidt family to build their home. Again, the maps, if people can't see them, they will be online. The maps also, there's some copies here in the audience. But just to give a little bit of an overview, the Schmidt Farm is one of the last and largest contiguous pieces of open space left in the community. If you look at the map, there's a couple of golf courses that come close, and then there's the Country Day Camp. The Country Day Camp, really, a lot of that is wet, and it is multiple parcels up there. But other than those, this is the last largest contiguous piece of open space remaining in Franklin. I underlined far from done. While management decisions are far from complete, this is just a simple list of ideas. Last night at the CPC hearing, actually, there were some other great ideas that people brought up. We'll talk about the open space plan in a minute. But we would, working through Brutus, who's a Stockbridge graduate out of UMass Amherst and knows a thing or two about agriculture. He actually is a 61 property owner in his town in Millis. We probably would have some sort of part-time staff person, or some sort of dedicated individual in the Environmental Affairs Division of the DPW to really work with the stakeholders in the community about management of the parcel. There's certainly potential leasing options for 2 of the spaces. Even last night, some folks brought up the fact that just having the meadows and the fields to be able to walk through and run around in and play games and kites and all sorts of things may be the final decision the community make. But there's certainly some areas that are certainly still really good for agricultural production. I know a lot of other farms in the area lease them out for CSA options for the community to purchase. There's certainly a need for additional community garden space. King Street is far from maxed out, or well maxed out. There'd be some, I think if everybody looked at the driveway, there's a nice plot of land right to the left, which would be a fantastic place for another community garden on the southern half of town. And then obviously pollinator pastures, meadows, hiking trails, especially on the southern half where it's very wooded and forested. There's really a lot of different ideas that people are gonna have for the parcel, but these are just a small list of some of the possibilities. Speaking of hiking and access, this is an access map. It is a little tough to read. There's a copy here in the audience, but there is some area down in the southern half of this parcel, which is very heavily forested and would be great for walking and hiking trails. I did put on the map, there's some stars up here and off of Bald Hill, Oak Ridge, Tia Place. These easements we'll get into a little bit in a minute. They may not all be access points. We do not have legal access through those parts right now, but those properties were developed and processed with drainage easements and other various easements, where down the road the town could certainly find some sort of access, possibly through the southern half. The town also does own these green parcels that are on here, including this water pump station down here, which the town does have access through and might be able to have some trails cut in around that area over there. People asked a lot last night, what about the house, what about the barn? Working with the building commissioner and the town engineer, we did do a site visit, and just to be transparent, it would be almost certain the building commissioner's recommendation would be to demolish the home. But the great news was we did a walkthrough of the barn, and there's no question that we believe the barn can be a huge asset to this property. And the building commissioner, I have a hunch, I think he's listening at home. I have a hunch he might even put a little bit of his own elbow grease into it. We did walk through it. It's pretty vacant. There's only some tools in there. The structural foundation of it is pretty good. It does need windows. It does have a big opening. But there's some real great potential, I think, with the barn, or at least our fingers are crossed. And all the town staff came out of that walk thinking that that was a really great asset and a nice historic preservation piece to add to the parcel as well. I would note one last thing. Many people did get an abutter notice regarding a planning board meeting on October 17th. Ultimately, the town has to go through a process of a definitive subdivision, which sounds weird. It's not really a subdivision, but really it's outlining the frontage requirements to make both the town parcel as well as Mr. Schmidt's parcel both conforming lots to local zoning. And so there's no need for easements. Mr. Schmidt will have access properly, the town will have access properly, and everything you're hearing tonight will be recited again on October 17th at the planning board hearing. It does not mean there is a subdivision proposed. In fact, I'm telling people there is not a subdivision proposed. It's just what we call it. Sorry for the bad language, but that's what it is. Again, just to, it's one of the last largest pieces open in town, but this has been a big part of the town's open space master plan. Goal 2 and the Chapter 61 analysis the town did some years ago all identified Schmidt Farm as a big priority in the community, as well as the master plan in 2013 prioritizes open space, and all of you instruct me, and we work together to prioritize open space every single year on both of our goals. Just want to zoom in for a lot of the abutters and some of the neighbors. So here are the areas off of Bald Hill and Oak Ridge. You can see down here on the corner, this is actually where the easements, the drainage easements are. I want to be very clear and make sure I really make sure everyone understands. These are not areas where the public can just walk through and get through the woods. That's something the town and those landowners have to work together on if there ever was going to be access, both on Bald Hill and Oak Ridge over here. But it does abut this piece of land, which is the town of Franklin right here, and this is the water facility down there. This is the view from Nicholas Drive, and Lyons Street. So Lyons is over here on the side. Again, there is no public access through Lyons, through these woods. This is private property right over here. This is also private property up here. But the Schmidt family did have an existing farming operation easement right here on that line. I believe probably seasonal, probably in the spring, summer, or fall. My guess is pumpkins or hay. And there was some sort of agreement with those owners. So there is a seasonal operations easement only. Again, not accessible by just walking through and just parking your car in Nicholas. This is an agricultural easement right here and would likely have to be stayed for an agricultural purpose. And then this is an existing drainage easement from the town through this property over here, which the town owns this corner, which is basically a little stream or a little river that cuts through the property. The view from Sarsfield and Washington. Sarsfield's up here in the corner. Just again, these are all private lots off the end of this. There is no public access through here. And then this is just a simple view from Washington Street about how close. There's, again, no public access via Washington Street. And then finally, just one more in-depth view, zooming into the corner of Prospect Street where the driveway is to go through the driveway. Last couple slides on finances. So the proposal before the council is $3.8 million. In working with the town finance director and treasurer collector and town attorney, we'd be looking at a 20-year borrowing using community preservation funds only. This purchase, if using CPA funds, would have no impact on the town's operating budget. This is off budget using only CPA funds. Only because in the next slide, I'll show some of the varying schedules, but we're assuming a 4.5% interest rate. And we're kind of looking, because the Fed Reserve just raised interest rates a tick up a little bit more. In May, we received for another borrowing 3.45. That was after the AAA bond rating, but after the Federal Reserve interest hikes. And so we're guessing somewhere between 3.75 and 4.5. But just for the public's sake and for transparency, at a 4.5% rate, you're looking at a principal of $3.8 million, a total interest of just under $1.8 million. And it was wisely pointed out last night by Mr. Feely, who's the chair of CPC. He said, when you add up all the numbers, it doesn't seem to make sense. And the reason why is our finance director and treasurer collector wisely dedicated the principal. If you do $190,000 over 20 years, it comes to $3.8 million. So the reason why the number doesn't necessarily add up is because the interest payments under this model actually decrease over the 20 years. Because every year when you pay off $190,000 in principal, well, the interest rate only applies to 3.6 million, 3.4 million, 3.2 million, 3 million, 2.8 million, and so forth and so on. And so you're really paying $361,000 in the first year only, okay? So that's basically, under this model, that's your highest payment. From each year on after this, that payment will go down because the interest on the principal is less. So hence that where you come out to the total price tag estimated, again, at about 5.6 million when you include in all the principal and interest for the total. Again, these are estimates. We all know the Fed Reserve is going to jack up rates again, and so we're hopeful that all of the closing and all of the borrowing will be done before the end of the calendar year. This is just a schedule to model out different interest rate schedules. Again, the one I just went through is 4.5%. across the board over here. And again, people can look online and look at the different interest rates, just to look at the different financial models. Finally, just for, these are some resources and links that we have linked in for the PowerPoint show for people that may view this later at home. Questions, comments, and public input. There's the overview again. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, this is a public hearing, so therefore I will go to the public first. Is there anyone in council chambers that has a comment or a question about this property? Please come forward. Just identify name and address, please.
Sure. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Sure.
3 minutes.
No worries, I'm not.
Okay,
I didn't
not
bring
a
notes
problem.
today. First, thank you, Jamie. It was better today than it was yesterday. I would like to thank you all for your consideration of this. I'm a lifelong resident, Robert Pantano, 10 Prospect Street. And it's nice to actually be here for something that I deem a little more positive than more development in various locations. I think that the voters of the community set this bar a couple of years ago when the CPA got enacted. I would envision this as being sort of a perfect project for that. Prospect Street being the first designated scenic road in the town could use this as a nice sort of exclamation point on it. And I think that's a wonderful thing. Having known the Schmidt family all of my life almost, I think that Mr. Schmidt is doing a good thing at this point, and I think his folks would be really proud of them, who I knew pretty well as well. So anyways, I implore you to consider this to the positive. Last night was very hopeful. The presentation, I think, is well thought out, extremely well articulated with great facts. I learned a lot last night, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Robert. Is there anyone else? Please, just name and address, please.
Yes, good evening, councilors. Raymond Goulet, I live on Miller Street in Franklin. I will say that I just learned about this project earlier this week, but I was so excited about it. I attended the hearing last night, and I wanted to be here today. It's just not every day that you get these sort of opportunities. And I think about assets that other neighboring communities have that are similar to this. Think about people who like to go for walks with their dogs or with their families, and think about the Medfield Hospital grounds, phenomenal place. Think about a town barn and the possibilities that come with that sort of thing for social, great town public events. Holliston has stuff like that. And think about community-supported agriculture. That is something that is really getting traction. And you think about a model like Natick Community Organic Farms in South Natick. Amazing place. What they do with 30 acres of land, it's an interesting municipal nonprofit hybrid that produces agriculture, produces meat, produces vegetables. They have education programs. They employ teens. The possibilities are, frankly, super exciting with this kind of an opportunity. So I just wanted to be one person saying this looks like an opportunity we just can't pass. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to, please? Again, name and address, sorry.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Garboski. I live at 9 Prospect Street. I'm very familiar with Schmidt's property, and I was actually the one that brought up the kites last night. That really impressed me. My kids have been out on those fields and flying kites as neighborhood friends, and to be out on the property, it's a beautiful piece of land. It's amazing the possibilities of what we could do Some of the things that we had talked about last night was things like extending the community gardens, because the demand on those is so high, there's a waiting list and people can't get them. And to enable our community and our town to be able to grow their own food is a huge idea. To train people, to teach people about how to self-sustain and have the access to this is just enormous. And I just see it as something that's would be so nice to have, and it's a great piece of property to do that. As continuing thinking about things, pollinator gardens, even if you don't use every piece of that property, to be able to put flowers out there and improve the pollinators, to have beehives, to save the monarchs. I mean, things that could happen out there that could really be impactful, not just to our town, but the state and the environment as a whole. It's my crunchy granola side of things. But it's, I think, a way that a lot of people in our area are leaning and moving, and how we can improve our environment and improve our daily lives as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the council chambers that would like to speak or have a question? Okay, I will go to Zoom land. Is there anyone out in Zoom land that would like to speak on this or have a question? Yeah.
Patrick Gallagher.
Pat, looks like Pat Gallagher's got it. If you could unmute yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pat Gallagher. I live at 2 Cohasset Way. I'm also the chair of the Conservation Commission. Spoke last night, but wanted to Zoom in tonight as well, just to lend my support to this. I think this is a really amazing opportunity for the town. It is, I think, few and far between to have an opportunity to preserve and keep open this size of a property, particularly for an agricultural use that, there just aren't, there aren't properties like this, and certainly not properties that are available for the town to acquire and to devote to public use in perpetuity. So I think it's a really amazing opportunity. I think, it's very much in keeping both with the Community Preservation Act and its goals, as well as Chapter 61A and its goals. And so I just wanted to really endorse what we have before us and encourage you, council members, to move forward with this and appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Pat. Is there, there's one more, Mark LePage. If you could unmute yourself.
Yeah, good evening. Hi, Mark LePage. Yep, can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great. So 2 Peppermill Lane, not far from the Schmidt Farm. And, just really excited to hear about the opportunity to preserve this piece of open space. I think it's exciting to hear that we've got something generational here that we can preserve. To Jamie's point, there really isn't much space available like this that's out there. I think it's also a great opportunity to preserve a little heritage of Franklin, some of the agricultural heritage, some of the farming heritage, and open it up to some great recreational use. So just a real exciting piece. Really hope this is something the town of Franklin can pull off, and just really would recommend this is something we should do.
Thank you, Mark. Is there anyone else on Zoom land that would like to, that has a question or a comment on this property?
Noel.
Linda Noel, if you could unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the chance to address the council. I am Linda Noel from 555 Lincoln Street. I am also on the Agricultural Commission, and I just wanted to chime in and agree with the gentleman from the Conservation Commission that this is a very wonderful opportunity for the town, and I hope that we go forward with it. I really do. It will give us a place that we could perhaps think about our community farm ideas, expanding the community gardens, and most importantly, expanding the ag in the classroom opportunities that we would have. So I thank you for letting me speak, and I encourage you, please vote yes.
Thank you, Linda. Is there anyone else out in Zoom land that has a question or a comment? Don't see anyone else, do you, Alicia? Okay, I will go to the council. Are there any councilors? Councilor Jones.
Mr. Chairman, I can't speak for the whole council, but I'm certain that everyone feels the same way, that this is really probably a prize win for the town as a whole. I honestly feel it's been so eloquently put by everybody tonight in regards to what the possible uses could be for this potential parcel. I think even the Interfaith Council would probably agree with the fact that that barn would probably have some great weddings in it over the years. It's a great opportunity for people to fly kites, and it would be a tremendous added asset to our community. I'm 100% in favor for it. I'm not going to repeat what everyone else has said, but I do have to say that I want to give the administration and the town government kudos for all the hard work that went into making this happen. Really a lot of hard work from the administration, finance department, treasurer's department, and everyone who behind the scenes kind of making this all work. He's pointing to Alicia. Nope, Mark. So.
She's great too.
Okay.
But
Thank you, Mark and Alicia.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Is there any other councilor? Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I feel like I don't have to explain to many people, if you know me, how excited I am about this opportunity. They don't make more land. As soon as you dig up some agricultural land, it's no good for ag anymore. And so the possibilities are endless at this. But I would like to quickly thank Alicia as well, and Mark and Jamie and the Community Preservation Committee and all of the residents in Franklin who voted for the Community Preservation Act. This is why we can do these things. This is why we could get Maple Hill property, and how we can fix the red brick schoolhouse and all these wonderful things. Mm-hmm. And this is just like a win-win-win, as Councilor Jones says. So thank you to everyone, and thank you, Chairman Mercer.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Is there any other councilor? Councilor Sheridan?
I disagree with everything that was said, and thank you for all the people who put all the hard work in. Very exciting.
Councilor DeLorco.
Thank you. I also would, this is a great opportunity for the town of Franklin. I just want to know one thing: who is going to pull that excavator out of the middle of that property?
Jamie.
I asked John. He's like, I don't know. It's been there a long time, but it's a great opportunity. It really is. I'm totally in support of it.
Thank you, Councilor DeLarco. Councilor Pellegrini.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I too am 100% for this. This is something great for the town, and Councilor Hamlin just said many of the things I was going to say, to thank the residents, thank the CPA committee, thank the council, and thank Mr. Schmidt for working so well with us so that we have this available to us to be able to do all these things that you just mentioned. And I just think that it's a wonderful, wonderful thing, and the CPA has helped many different projects already too, and we will continue to do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the town administrator. First, you guys all said it perfectly. I'm not going to reiterate what all you guys all said. I appreciate all your comments. Now, a little different spin here. You actually brought up something I was thinking about. That bad bend, that's going to be the main entrance in there. Maybe you can show people at home where it is. Yeah, right there. Are we going to be able to use any of the CPA funds to maybe fix that a little bit?
Nope.
No.
In fact, through Mr. Chairman, both those costs as well as the demolition of the home, you'll likely see a proposal in the capital program this fall. Gus is already working on a quote. Brutus, in due time will get up there. We've had the engineers, but You can't use money usually for operating or maintenance costs, so we're gonna have to look outside, probably CPA for that stuff.
Okay, I was just hoping, because it is there's
It
gonna
is.
be a lot more traffic once we get this up and running, right? Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question to the town administrator. The comments have been overwhelmingly positive, and I certainly support this endeavor. I'm just curious, have you received any feedback from any residents opposed to this project?
I have not received any.
That's great to hear, because certainly the feedback on the various social media platforms have been overwhelmingly positive too. And I know, speaking from an artistic point of view, because we talk about arts and culture in Franklin a lot, I think it's a great spot to think about for having a public art class or, some kind of additional use for the art community in town. So it certainly has my support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Okay, I'll take the last sentence or two and just say that not only would I like to thank the town administration and all our department heads that worked hard on this, but I'd like to go back, not just this council, prior councils, going back 10 or 12 years, have identified these properties in town, the last two big pieces being the Maple Hill piece and being Schmidt's Farm, as project or pieces of property that when they did come available, they should be high on the council's priority list. And I go back to Jamie's predecessor, Jeff Nutting, who was very vocal about this as well. And as I said, councils going back 10 or 15 years. I would also, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this council has had the opportunity to close on the Maple Hill, and hopefully in the not too distant future, close on the Schmidt Farm piece and bring to the community two pieces of two of the best left pieces of open space in the town and bring them into the town coffers. So I applaud everyone's efforts. I thank all the people that have come tonight in support of this project. The Schmidt family, I'm a lifer. I've known John Schmidt and I went to school together. His father, his parents, my parents were good friends. So I thank John for being in a position to give us this opportunity. And I just can't thank everybody for their involvement in getting us to where we are today. And Jamie, I'm looking forward to this being on our agenda on October 19th.
It will be.
Thank you. And with that, I will close the public hearing on the Schmidt's Farm property. Okay. Next item on the agenda is license transactions. There's one, and it's change of manager, Momax Corporation, doing business as BJ's Wholesale Club, number 105, located at 100 Corporate Drive, Franklin, Mass. 02038. Clerk will read the transaction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a license transaction for a change of manager for Momax Corporation doing business as BJ's Wholesale Club, number 105, at 100 Corporate Drive, Franklin, Mass. 02038. Momax Corporation doing business as BJ's Wholesale Club, number 105, is seeking approval for a change of manager on their wine and malt retail package store license. This new manager will be Sierra Wolf. All departments have signed off on this application. This is a motion to approve the request by Momax Corporation doing business as BJ's Wholesale Club for change of manager to Sierra Wolf.
Second. Motion and a second. Alicia.
Thank you. So this is just a fairly routine change of manager for BJ's. to Sierra Wolf on their retail package store for beer and wine. I believe Sierra and some representatives from BJ's are on Zoom if you have any additional questions for them. And all departments have signed off.
Thank you, Alicia. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Jones.
Just a curious question, if anyone from Momax Corporation, like Sierra Wolf, are available to answer a question. They may or may not know the answer to it. Just out of curiosity, I know we had approved this license transfer from what was originally, I believe, Mac, which is now Mac Deli's, which was the
Ann's Market.
Ann's Market, thank you. And BJ's took the license over. I'm just curious to wonder how much of a benefit the license has been to BJ's, if that information, if anyone available knows that information. If that license
Is there a representative of BJ's on the Zoom call?
Hi, Ms. Wolf.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you answer that?
Yeah, I filled the dollar figures on the benefit of the liquor license to this location, but as somebody who's worked in several locations, some with and without liquor and beer and wine, it's definitely an asset to the community itself. It definitely draws business for us, and we're happy to provide the option to the town.
That's good. One of the things I've noticed is the discount that BJ's offers on many of the liquor things over there. So I think it's an added bonus to the town as well. I was just curious to wonder if they felt it had been a bonus to them. That's my general question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. This is for Ms. Wolf also. I was in there the other day, and, half the checkouts are self-serve. Can you just get the bottles of wine and go through the self-serve? Does it automatically stop you? Well, you can answer that. They're saying yeah.
Yeah, there's a POS prompt that forces a team member to verify an ID. You can't bypass it. It has to have a full date entered at both the manned registers and the self-checkouts.
Okay, thank you. That answers that. And one last thing. I know Councilor DeLoco usually asks this, but it looks like you're not going to be tip certified till the 13th of October?
So I'm certified. I'm in queue to become a trainer to be able to certify other team members and managers within the building.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve the change of manager. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on, presentations and discussions. We have one this evening. We have the Norfolk County Commissioners here this evening. Please come forward. Jamie, you want to?
Let's do a quick intro. Well, one member here needs no introduction, former Councilor Peter Padula, but Councilor Padula, as many of you know, is traditionally been the town's representative for Norfolk County for many, many years, preceded even my time here. He called me up a couple months ago and thought it might be good to have the commission come in with their executive director. They're recently, John, probably within the last 6 to 8 months, a year or so, and just talk a little bit about what the Norfolk County does. A lot of questions from some of you, many people in the audience, many citizens always ask, like, what does Norfolk County do? And they're here tonight to answer anybody's questions.
Thank you, Jamie. Just before you get started, just last license transaction, former Councilor Padula, I almost called on you because you always had that question for those. Yeah, Councilor Chandler has taken over the reins. Yeah. Please continue, sorry.
Thank you so much to the town administrator and to you, members of the council, to give us an opportunity to speak here tonight. I am your member of Franklin's member of the Norfolk County Advisory Board. But people do ask the question on what does the Norfolk County government do for us. So I have our county director here, John Cronin. I've been working with him for a while. We're very fortunate to have him, just like being on the council and having these people over here. with us. It's been very, very good. So he's here to tell you a little bit about what we do over at Norfolk County for the local communities.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening, members of the council. On behalf of the Norfolk County Commissioners, Chairman Joe Shea, Peter Collins, and Richard Stady, I'm very grateful to be before you this evening to share some insight into Norfolk County's functions and operations, and most importantly, if there's time permitted, Mr. Chairman, answer any questions the members may have. I'd be very, very happy to do so. So briefly, my name is John Cronin. I'm the Norfolk County Director since June of 21. I want to explain this evening that the county is managed by 3 elected commissioners who work with an advisory board, as Peter indicated, which approve all their annual operating and capital spending to carry out the functions of our $34 million organization. Broadly, the county departments are broken into several components. We have a facility maintenance department that oversees 6 county courthouses, including Dedham Superior Court in Dedham. The total square footage that the facility maintenance people oversee is quite substantial, as they manage over 200,000 square feet of buildings, including a couple of very historical ones. This maintenance division is responsible for maintaining the environment on the interior and exterior of the facilities to the benefit of the trial courts 24/7. The county owns a golf course. There's an interesting story behind this, and I just wanted to briefly explain it to you. The county obtained the golf course in Wollaston back in 1977, but the history of the golf course actually goes back to 1895. If there are any golfers in the room, Francis Ouimet actually practiced on that particular golf course while he was competing in the British Opens and Amateurs. The course is in excellent shape. It features some of the finest views and conditions of a public golf course, and we're grateful to have it. It is a profit-making organization. It regularly turns about a $200,000 profit for the county. In addition, the particular property has several other recreational facilities, including a very active tennis environment, pickleball court, and the county is going to be installing a $175,000 upgrade to the playground. So it's very active. It's a beautiful environment, right, mainly in Milton, with a slice of it in Quincy. If you're in the area and want to check it out, it's a beautiful opportunity to enjoy some recreation. The county also oversees the Norfolk County Agricultural High School. The Norfolk Aggie, as you probably know, provides a very unique academic and agricultural science vocational experience. There are 600 students there, including 16 from Franklin. It is one of the most specialized educational experiences in the state, and there's only one other agricultural school, and that, of course, is in Bristol, so we're lucky to have that particular feature in the county. We operate a program called Retired Senior Volunteers, RSVPs for short. This is a program that has found quite a unique niche in Norfolk County, where it provides various programs for retired seniors, including rides for veterans, an annual toy drive, reading programs where our coordinators help seniors who are interested in reaching children in schools and reading to them, and also food for neighbors in need. It's a very connected program. It's very vibrant. It did take a hit with volunteer services during the pandemic, but they've refound their footing. And again, it's a very wonderful and unique program to Norfolk County. Our engineering program is a department that services highway layouts, surveys for new layouts of existing roadways, settings of permanent monuments, and so forth. They work directly with communities upon demand. In fact, I believe they recently helped the town of Franklin lay approximately 1 mile of sidewalks back in 2019. These engineering programs are a benefit to the communities for free. Again, that's not offered in other communities outside Norfolk County. Moving on beyond the departments, Norfolk County, as you probably know, has been very active in the grant space. Since 2021, when the county received $137 million for the benefit of its 28 cities and towns, the county commissioners embarked on the process of setting up a portal and a program that can help distribute the funds through an allotted process. To date, the county has distributed $30 million to 16 communities, including Franklin. Today, I was happy to join the commissioners as they approved the third award for Franklin, totaling to date $3,221,000. You folks probably understand the amount of money the county has available to distribute to Franklin exceeds $6.4 million. We have until the end of December of 2024 to obligate those funds. Today, the commissioners approved the allotment amount that can be distributed to communities to 75%, so we look forward to hearing more from Jamie and his team. Jen Thompson, who of course you're working with, great help. So to date, Franklin's been very active, and we're very happy to help you expedite the process of gaining access to those funds. One program I want to briefly explain that we're trying to launch is a weights and measures program. County government can serve a lot of different features, and one of them is expanding regional services. Collectively, our communities are stronger when we can share resources and ideas. Weights and measures is an area of need right now, and we see this through some experience and communications we have with other Norfolk County managers, Franklin being one of them. As a result of some interactions with the state, who is withdrawing their support for some of these programs in certain sized communities, Norfolk County is beginning to pivot into this space, and will try to create a program which will feature full-time employees and equipment to provide this critical service to communities, including Franklin. So you'll be hearing from us shortly, through Jamie, of course, over the next several months as we look to expand that program. That concludes my opening remarks to you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. I wanted to allow for any questions from your counselors. Be happy to answer anything that might come up. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the presentation. Mr. Cronin, are you by any chance from Milton?
I have a brother that lived in Milton.
Oh, okay. I
have another brother that lives in Franklin. I come from a relatively large family. We're
I
spread out.
I knew a John Cronin years ago in Milton, but he's since passed.
Yes. Was he a former town administrator?
He was, yeah.
It was surreal when I walked into their chambers and I saw my name on the door.
Yeah.
No, that's not for you. But thank you.
But my question really comes to, and excuse me for not knowing the exact numbers, but just to be roundabout for everyone, the $135 million federal grant that came to counties instead of coming directly to cities and towns. And I remember reading that there was an admin fee that the county was allowed to assess to those funds. I'm just curious what you folks are doing with that piece of the puzzle.
Great question. 3% is the answer to the question, Mr. Cormier. The amount that the commission has approved for our administration of the grant totaled 3% of the $137 million. That's broken into two prongs. The first is 2.5% towards the administrative parts of this program. As you can imagine, managing a $137 million grant for any organization was burdensome. We did not have the infrastructure to create the program to be accountable to the final rule and the standards of the federal grant. So we collaborated with 4 other counties, the other counties in Massachusetts. That included Plymouth, Bristol, Barnstable, and Dukes. One of the things that we realized was, again, strength in numbers. We could hire the same firm, the same law firm, and same auditors to develop the program. So we successfully did that. The administrative cost associated with our grant is paying for that over the next several years. So we think, we actually know that the 3% cost associated with running this program is the lowest of any county in Massachusetts.
So basically it went to administrative costs, to outsourcing, to managerial
Auditors,
companies and
lawyers,
lawyers
that's
to
correct.
be able to handle the grants appropriately.
That's correct. And also the one-time charge of building the portal.
Okay, great, thank you. That's
You're
it,
welcome.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, guys, thank you.
Good evening.
It was funny, you were talking about the regional services, and I was thinking about that too when you guys were coming in. Because how I grew up, every town is a kingdom. We're our own kingdoms. We do everything just ourselves, our own superintendents, our own police chiefs. Are you getting any pushback for any of that regional services that you want to get going, or?
No.
No.
We're collaborators, Counselor. We envision ourselves to be there when our communities need us. And in this case, through discussions that organically began at Norfolk County managers, my Assistant Director, Bill Buckley, who's with us this evening, started to hear pretty clearly about the need for this kind of a program. So through that collaboration, Counselor, we realized we can help. And it's a perfect linkage between what those communities need and what we can collaborate to get to.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you, former Councilor Padula, because I did learn to dot the i's and the t's by watching you.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, one follow-up to Mr. Chandler's
Please.
remarks, it just occurred to me. I live in a community a little bit to the left of us on Holliston. I'm in Middlesex County. We don't have a functional county government to fall back on, but we are chronically looking for services or arrangements with other communities. And it's a task to try and find a willing partner to deal with dog officer services, for example. Big issue for small communities. So we have to launch into a personal relationship, develop an MOU, and then through trust and some past experiences, build those programs. It's hard. We're looking for similar solutions for traffic officer, traffic safety, things that communities don't have the resources to hire people for. And we feel like sometimes we're feeling ourselves in the dark. If we had a functional county government, that's where I would go for those kind of answers. And we believe in Norfolk County, the commissioners are very committed to it, to making sure the communities know that we're there to service their needs.
Thanks for the follow-up.
Sure, no
Thank you,
problem.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Sheridan.
I'm just curious, what's the history? Why do some counties have governments and some don't?
Governor Weld.
What?
Governor Weld.
Okay. 'Cause you think
in the
Middlesex
early-
is such a big county, you think they would have one?
They did.
Yeah.
All counties were functional. They were originally a very big part of Massachusetts governance. But in the early 90s, Governor Weld and the legislature saw to it that certain parts of the state, mainly north of us, were eliminated. They were collapsed. Many of the services were absorbed by state government. That includes registry deeds and things like that. They're all part of the state government now.
But why not the whole state? I'm just curious. Why?
It precedes my
Okay.
my involvement. I can only guess, but I believe a lot of it had to do with the functionality of government. You'd have to understand that Norfolk County and then due south, Mr. Sheridan, are the intact portions of county government. I think it's because of the scale and the way that we can work with our communities. Middlesex is a very large county. It's the largest in Massachusetts, and I think it got too big.
Okay.
And similarly out west, the communities just didn't need it any longer.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair, thank you, gentlemen, for being here tonight.
My pleasure.
I think all of us were wondering, like, what does the county do? So thank you for helping us clarify that. I do have a question. Do you have some kind of master plan for the county, like economic development? What are you going to do with all your facilities? Sort of what, an open space plan for the next 10 years?
We do not at this time, at least a current one. In the past, the county has embarked on those types of things. In fact, in the past, the county was involved in a variety of businesses that have lapsed, including the sheriff's department, a hospital, and things like that. Going forward, these commissioners have talked about doing an energy audit of all our facilities to ensure that we're using the most efficient means possible to maintain power and heating and cooling. The Norfolk County Agricultural School, for example, we're currently trying to put a solar project in there for the agricultural educational experience. But in addition, it promotes green style of power for that environment. The commissioners have recently asked me to look into working with the State Department of Capital Asset Management as well as the trial courts to envision a more efficient way to power all of our courthouses. So that's the next step that I envision taking. In terms of land or open space, the commissioners don't currently have a plan for that. We do embrace the land that we own, principally the agricultural school, which is a massive property in and of itself. They are committed to the green space living and promoting clean energy as well. So that's the direction they're heading.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
And also like an economic development master plan for the community, for the county, so maybe we could start to work together. I mean, we had Councilor Chandler mentioned that we were all kind of like in our own little spaces, but maybe if we could do something county-wide, it might help a little bit. But you mentioned the Norfolk Aggie, so I mean, one of the things we heard is that I've heard from the Aggie is that I know that there's solar fields on top of all the parking areas, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But also there's this plan to cut down the forest that's used for the forestry open classroom. And to me, that means that's not really green, you know, if you cut down the trees to put up solar. So I was wondering what was if you had an update on that, or if there was a change in plan for that.
Sure. From what I understand, that particular project, Counselor, was built into 4 phases. The first phase involved basically an open field conversion to a ground-based solar project, and that's been approved. The second phase, which is the development, I should say the first phase was the canopy you talked about. I should have mentioned that. That was
That's really cool.
Done. Moving on. The third phase, I believe, is the area you just referred to as the cutting down the forest. With all due respect, I'll have to correct that expression. We're not cutting down a forest. We will be removing some trees. We've worked very diligently over the last 5 years with abutters and neighbors, and through a variety of public visits, public hearings. We recognize that reducing the amount of trees on the property is not the preferred outcome, but the carbon equivalent is preferred when we place the solar arrays on the ground there. There will be some trees removed. It's not a forest. The area is immense. It has multiple areas that are wooded. The trails will still be intact, and their use of the land will still be very much enriched. The school is looking forward, I think, to the element of using the array as a learning tool. There's so much that can be gained for education and for students that are interested in solar and the benefit it has to our community and to our environment, that it's a whole new angle that they can really embrace. So with all due respect, I think I'd back off from the use of the word forest. I think we will be removing some trees. We've recognized that. Removing one tree is not great, but replacing it with a green energy purpose is really the goal here. And most of that particular array is in an open field as well. It's an old hay field that's not being used any longer. And we'd be
Okay.
happy to share the details of that anytime.
That would be wonderful if you could do that.
Through Jamie, I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Jones.
First off, Council Padula, so great to see you. Nice to have you back, and so it'd be nice to have you back on this side of the table. We miss you here.
You want to get rid of me?
I said this side of the table. I didn't say anything
Point to me.
specifically. But first of all, great presentation, by the way. Very, very informative.
Thank you, Councilor.
I think one of the challenges that I come from, born and raised in Middlesex County in Watertown, and I did know that Middlesex County got broken up. Norfolk County, in and of itself, is a rather complex county. I think you could probably agree, because it's an eclectic array of cities and towns, everything from Quincy on one end, if I'm correct, all the way down to us and everyone else.
Cohasset to Bellingham.
In between. Cohasset.
Cohasset to Bellingham.
There you go. So just that says it alone, because you've got such a large swath and variety of different cities and towns, everything in between. It must be a daunting task to manage that in and of itself. The fact that Norfolk County has been able to sustain its form of government and let alone do it as effectively as it has is a testament to the commission itself, and I want to give you guys kudos for that. Would you say that it was a wise idea to allow the state, to allow the commission and the county to manage the ARPA money in lieu of just distributing the money to the towns themselves instead of having it go through the county commission? I mean, I think one of my concerns in regards to that, and to Councilor Cormier-Ledger's point, is the money being spent, and it's no insult, please don't take this in the wrong way, is the money being spent in the best possible way that it could in order to benefit the citizens who mostly need it within the county? In other words, exuberant lawyer fees, administration fees, and so on and so forth. What kind of promise that we have that this money is really, making it to those that really need it?
Right. First of all, great questions. The first one, it's not for me to say if it was the right choice, but it was the only choice. The funding that was designated by the federal government to be destined to communities and counties was defined that way. It wasn't a choice. We could not have turned it back over to the communities. Early on, that was imagined to be the case because, as Councilor Sheridan mentioned, there are extinct counties now, and as a result, the funds went directly to them. As I mentioned, I live in an extinct county. We got 2 prongs. The money came from the feds in 2 buckets, but it was not possible for us to turn and say, we'd like to defer it to the communities. That was not a legal option. So what we decided to do was to optimize what county government can do for the communities. And I think, again, I want to share the wisdom of the county commissioners by embracing the team approach with the other counties, Councilor Jones, because we are practicing the same interpretation of the final rule as the other counties. So if you called your partners in Bristol County or Plymouth County, you say, are you getting funds for this type of project? You're going to get the same answer. It's the same auditor. It's the same interpretation. With respect to the assignment of value to each community, based on population from 2019, I think it's the most fair distribution of funds. But I will say this, having managed many, many grants in my career, we've got a lot of money that we propose will be spent through an allotment to the various 28 cities and towns in the county. A year from now, if we envision that some communities are not reaching those allotments, we're going to work with them to redistribute that resource to the communities that actually can spend it. Now, with respect to the purposes of how they're spending it, we're quite pleased that the county communities understand it because they're getting pretty good advice from one of the top auditor firms in the United States, Clifton Larson Allen. They are really engaging the communities, answering questions, and helping them understand not only is it an eligible expense, but it is a wise expense. Our website has a breakout of the ARPA awards given to date by purpose area, and you can see how these communities are using the funds. So I'm very happy with their thinking on how to use it and how wise they are doing. But I want to leave you with the idea that a year from now, as I reach back out to the town administrators and the communities, it's likely we may need to reconfigure or recalculate the distribution because some communities just probably won't get to these funds. And we want to help optimize the remaining balance to those that can. So I hope I've answered your question, but we're very comfortable in the space, but we feel that we're in, and we're very happy with the way the program's running to date.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Appreciate it.
Councilor Jones. Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Thanks for
My pleasure.
thanks for
Thank
the information. For you, Chair. The money, like, as you hold it, is it accruing interest?
Yes, it is.
And you guys are receiving?
We do.
That interest. Do you know how much?
Over the term of, I believe after the first year, we collected approximately $50,000 in interest.
Okay. Yeah, it did feel weird, and this has already been touched upon, so I don't want to beat it too hard, but that some communities receive the funds directly, and we had to have, I think it was 4 million taken off the top for the job of getting us the money that others were able to get directly. It does feel weird, and I think that's, you know, a few $100,000 that would have come to Franklin that we could have spent. So I appreciate you enumerating how it was used, but I would further encourage you, whenever there's money that comes your way, to maximize the amount that's coming to our communities.
I will be happy to. If I could add one element to the ARPA discussion, Mr. Chairman, to the benefit of the councilors. There's an element of ARPA, and I'm sure Jamie knows about it, that really caught fire with a lot of the communities. It's the revenue loss component. There are 5 prongs to the grant. The revenue loss is the area that a lot of recipients really want to use their funds for because there's no strings attached. It's basically, as long as it fits a governmental service purpose, you can use it. It doesn't have to fit into open space or any of those other, not open space, but economic development, public health, and so forth. We've actually taken the steps to distribute that $10 million benefit equitably again to every single community based on the same formula. But, to your point, not every community is going to use their tranche of the revenue loss. So what that means is there will be more money available from that source that I'm going to redistribute to communities like Franklin if they need it, because we believe in sharing that benefit. But I hear you on the cost, but I would also challenge you, Councilor. There aren't many grant opportunities that any community can use that wouldn't otherwise require an administrative cost, and I believe 3% is about as low as you'll find anywhere in the United States. So we're pretty proud of that. If you want to fact check that against what our other counties are doing, I'm not going to throw them under the bus, but it won't be hard for you to find. We're doing pretty well.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Okay, John, Peter, thank you. And I just close to piggyback on what Councilor Frangillo said, and I want to make sure that our audience and residents understand that if we did get that money directly to the community would have some of those costs that the Norfolk County Commission is actually, that 3%. Whether it would be 1%, 2%, there would be some of those costs, administrative costs, that we would have to incur. Jamie, I know.
I think he's got more time in his schedule. I don't know. That's what
Yeah, right. That's what I was thinking of Alicia and myself. And
Same
finding
here.
theme. Really quickly, Mr. Chairman, just a couple clarifying things. Just for the public's edification, one of the things, these are both federal legislation.
Right.
So we have to think of this as a 50-state decision. So CARES Act was funneled to the local level in the actual pandemic emergency, came right to the municipal level. Well, if you were in Oklahoma or Texas or North Carolina, you were saying the opposite argument to your congressman, saying, hey, come on, like the municipal level, we don't have municipalities around here. We've got counties. So the same thing we're saying now, and so really, truly, if you talk to Senator Warren, really they flipped it.
Yeah.
And so on ARPA, you know, we were just the innocent bystander of being in a county form of government where we just had to deal with this additional hurdle. I think John would agree, you know, anytime you inherit $138 million, town managers and elected officials are going to be a little itchy. And, you know, and at the time, just in full deference too, John was not here, Bill was there, there was a lot of staffing changes at the county, and there were, you know, certainly a few frost heaves early. We talked about it through many presentations here, but as illustrated recently today with the mental health clinician that was approved by the county for the police department, I think John would agree as well, and I think a lot of other town managers would agree, that the systems now are in place and everything is very fluid. I believe we actually got the money from approval to wire within a month or so, which is pretty fast.
Right.
The thing, Mr. Chairman, really quickly that I did not know is that the county right now, up until today, they had authorized only half of that $138
That
million.
reallocation, you going
So
there?
I'm listening to his numbers, and
So
I'm
was
thinking
I.
there's a lot of towns for some reason that have not applied yet, and that aren't taking advantage of the money the county has already said for almost a year is available. But one of those communities is not this one.
No.
And, you know, as of today, every application for that 3.25, I think you said, John, 3.25 million, has all been reviewed and appropriated, and we would imagine the wire will be here soon. So all of those decisions are because of your support and all of the decisions made here on how to use that money. But I can assure you, we will not wait. And Franklin will not be one of those towns that is going to leave a dime on the table. We're going to make sure that we take advantage of every opportunity the county gives us. Thank you.
And I would hope that we would take every opportunity to use some of those reallocated funds that you're speaking about.
That's right.
You know, and great point, Counselor, and to Jamie's point, the communities that will prevail under those circumstances when we need to reshuffle the deck and optimize the remaining revenue, the communities that will be successful are the ones that have programs that are ready, that they've identified the need for. We're on a clock. These funds have to be obligated, as I mentioned, by the end of 2024, which sounds like a long way away, but it's 2 years. If you've got a project, a shovel-ready project, that's gold for ARPA. But if you've got to think about something, put it out to bid, put it before your town for a town meeting approval, you know how fast things move. They don't. So you better start planning now, and if you want to make yourself, put yourself in the best position to recoup any funds above your allotment, have those projects ready, because those are the ones that we'll be looking to award.
Can you cover Beaver Street Interceptor? Just a thought.
He was going to say yes, and then we were going to tell him the price tag.
We have a beautiful
Mr. Padula.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to say one piece. I'm not sure if we mentioned it. Commissioner Sadie wanted to be here, but he was out of country.
Yes.
So he was going to actually attend, but he's out of country. I just want to thank the town administrator and the town council to give us an opportunity to explain some of the things that we do. Thank you for all your questions. You can see that we've got an incredible staff with John Cronin. There's no question this guy can't answer. If he doesn't have the answer, it's kind of like being with Jamie. He doesn't know. He goes and finds the answer for you. Jeff Nutting was the same way. And again, I'll say this, like all these gentlemen I got to deal with, including Mr. Nutting, you may not like the answer, but you got one. There was no pussyfooting around. They would dig up the information and give it to you. So this is a good opportunity. And one of the things I know that Mr. Cronin's going to say too is, you have questions, anything comes up, you hear something about deforesting or some other thing that's completely untrue, you pick up the phone, call me or call John, and we're going to get you the information. And you'll have that information. He says he's going to get the information tomorrow. It's going to go to Jamie, and Jamie will get it over to you. So it's wonderful. Anytime, ask any questions. And thank you again for the opportunity. I'm sorry, John.
Thank you, Peter.
In closing, I'd like to let Franklin know, in my 1 year, I've had exactly 4 advisory board meetings. Peter Padula regularly surfaces them through his activity and his deep wisdom to the top of the list of those advisory board members. You're very lucky to have him. He's an exceptional asset, shows up to every meeting, and his history on county government is exceptional, so you're well represented.
Thank you, John. And we know we are. We miss him from the council.
We do.
For sure. John, Peter, thank you very much. I'm sure, I know it was very informative for me. I'm sure it was for a lot of my fellow councilors. And as well, I'm sure a lot of our audience learned a lot tonight. So
thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you,
Peter,
Chairman.
Thank you for suggesting
Good evening.
coming forward.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on. Legislation for action. Resolution 22-62. Request for special legislation regarding authority for the town of Franklin, acting through the Franklin Town Council, to grant an all-alcoholic beverages not to be drunk on the premises alcoholic beverage license in excess of the town's quota to Mad Deli, Inc., doing business as Dacey's Market. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 22-62. Request for special legislation in regards to authority for the town of Franklin acting through the Franklin Town Council to grant all alcoholic beverages licenses not to be drunk on the premises, alcoholic beverages license in excess of town's quota, to Mad Deli Incorporated, doing business as Dacey's Market.
Motion to waive the reading.
Second.
Motion and a second to waive the reading. All those in favor of waiving the reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
1 no. Motion carries.
Move Resolution 22-62.
Second.
Motion and a second to move Resolution 22-62. Short summary. Alicia.
Alrighty. So Scott came before us, he sent in a letter, and he's asking for an all alcoholic beverages package store license. In addition, this is in excess of our current quota. So currently we have 8 beer and wine package store license and 7 all alcohol licenses. And the 8th one was actually granted to Scott in 2020 as an additional, and we went through the same process. He's also in this audience today. If you have any additional questions for him, or you can ask me anything as well.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you.
Questions from the council? Councilor Frangillo had that quizzical look.
Yeah. Just to confirm, you said we've done this before?
Yes. So in 2020, he petitioned for an additional one for beer and wine. So it's the same process, but for a beer and wine license. And that's what he currently has. And he's looking to upgrade it to all alcohol.
Do you have any sense of how other communities handle such, do they get requests for, going in excess of their quota?
Attorney Sorrell?
It's a very common practice in the legislature. The longer you're exposed to them, you'll realize that a lot of their businesses maybe on additional
There's a
alcohol.
whole bunch going on. Okay. Focus on energy. That's good. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor DeLorco?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Scott. Can you just give us a little background on why you want to go to a full liquor license?
Well, that's the market has changed to what they call RTDs, ready-to-drink alcohols. And even Truly this week came out with one, which was one of the biggest salsa companies. They came out with a vodka-based one. And that's where the market is trending to go right now. It's hurting the wine business, the beer, and the salsa business. So now you're at a disadvantage because I can repeat, a couple of Saturdays ago, I worked out front. 15 people before 11 o'clock already came in looking for them and left without purchasing anything.
So you're talking like the High Noons and?
Yes, High Noons.
And the Trulies and all the other stuff
They came out with
like
one,
that.
but Malibu has one. All the liquor companies basically have one. Several brands.
So Scott gave me actually gave me a list of like 10 pages of stuff he can't sell.
And that's just one vendor too.
That's just one, and a lot of it is, and Council Figello probably can probably contain this. When I was young, I would, 25, I was just a beer drinker, Slits and Paps. Nowadays that's gone, I mean, they're all onto the High Noons and stuff.
I need it to be fruity.
It's really, so, and my son's your age, and I know the same thing. But, yeah, so, I can see where he's going, and he's, and I have been down his store, and he's gonna switch everything up front, like the candies and stuff, so the young kids will not be walking past liquor or anything like that, so.
Attorney Sorrell?
Mr. Chairman, so just to clarify, because it was alluded to, we did this process before, we're asking the legislature for authority for us to issue the license. So if they give you the authority, then you will post a separate public hearing and take up the specifics at that time. So this is not an automatic license issuance from the legislature.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Attorney Sorrell. Councilor DeLarco, you were dating yourselves from the shores of Lake Cochituate. There's about 4 people in this room that remember that.
I seen a couple of them laughing over here.
Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a point of through you to either town lawyer, town council, or to the person requesting this. Will this include an additional list of items that would include nips? So you currently sell nips?
No, I don't.
Okay, so this will include nips?
Yes.
All right.
Well, it would also include vodka or gin and stuff like that.
Anything
It's
that's
a full
within the
alcohol
package for a license
Right.
that would
Yes.
give them the authority,
Right.
again, once you get to have the hearing.
The reason I ask, I understand how it works, because it's certainly not the first time I've seen this, is that the sale of nips, one of the most annoying things about litter in this town is the ridiculous amount of nips litter that's generated, specifically around the town commons. Another area likes that. My only issue with this is the additional potential that this would continue to contribute to that litter issue. I've never been a big fan of those little nips for that simple reason. I think, in all honesty, if people can't buy something in a bigger bottle or bigger quart, what's the point of selling the nips other than just to take a sip drink, quick drink, toss them out the windows, and contribute to litter. I'm not 100% in support of this for that one reason, really. I think we have plenty of places in the town that currently offer this level of alcohol.
Is that choice?
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for maybe the town attorney or the administrator. So this is a +1 license, so is this license then, so this is a beer and wine license now, right? And if if we change it, if it gets changed to an all liquor license, it's still the same license, it's still the only +1. Like, there's not gonna be another +1 beer and wine license.
Mark?
So the distinction is when, although as I alluded to, the legislature has been very liberal in granting additional licenses on these kinds of special permits, they're not exactly the same as your quota licenses. They're generally restricted. At one time, when I first started practicing, they were restricted to the person, the applicant themselves, and when they ceased doing business or deceased, the license ceased to exist. So they're restricted to the location. So if you actually read this all through, you would see that it makes provision for the fact, or acknowledges the fact he's already got a beer and wine, that will simply cease to exist if he's granted the all alcohol per the legislation. Right.
And are these licenses, this +1 license transferable?
Only at that location. In other words, if he sold the business at that location, the legislation, again, would allow the transfer.
Does the legislation ever allow 2 extra, like +2, or is it only 1 extra license?
There's no, I've seen them grant very large numbers of these specialized licenses.
Okay.
It's part of economic development, frankly, communities that they're trying to rehabilitate and increase that kind of restaurant in that experience. So there's no limitation on how many a particular municipality can obtain.
They can petition for, and anybody
Right.
can petition for that.
Okay.
Jamie had something to add.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, so like, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, the city of Boston has been at its quota for decades, and they literally have to go through this every single time. They have a Boston Licensing Commission. Like 4, 5, 6 years ago, in a massive economic development bill that was put out at the end of the session, they gave the city of Boston 50 extra licenses. The issue is that it sounds easy to do, and the legislature will be next week. It's more difficult than you think, because once one town wants 10 licenses, every town wants 10
Right,
licenses.
of course.
And then it dilutes, obviously, some of the issues. And so traditionally, the legislature has stood with extenuating circumstances like the city of Boston. Outside of that, they traditionally have not just given an extra town 20 licenses or whatever, right? Because then the concentration of liquor establishments is just too much for one community.
Right, okay, thank you for clarifying. Do I have a question for Scott? Thank you for being here. So we approved the +1 beer and wine for you. I think you've sort of explained why you would like to change it over. Do you have anything else to add about why we should change it?
Provide a one-stop shopping for the community in my neighborhood. Like, they come in on Saturdays, get the sandwiches, go to the beach. They come in looking for a high noon, for example. Now they have to leave and go somewhere else. So that was one of the big issues on that issue.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Chandler?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Town Administrator, when are we due for our next full liquor license?
You mean the review of the numbers, like the quotas?
Like when we reach that other every 5,000 we get.
Probably not going to get there.
We're not gonna
35,
get there.
you're probably not going to get there because it's 35,000.
They do them every 10 years,
Population.
and the town didn't eclipse the
We
35,000.
did in this last census.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was my question. There, and also, there was a liquor license at this store before, and it was sold off.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we want to, and there'll be 2 liquor stores, 2 full liquor stores pretty close to each other. And the only thing I don't like about this is that with 2 regular liquor stores so close to that school crosswalk, everyone thinks that, you know, that was, that's the only problem. I mean, that's a tough one there. Through you to the town attorney, since this is a special license, this isn't an ABCC, that you can, fight this?
it'll go through the approval process. When it comes back, it'll be treated like a regular license.
It will be, okay. So then he, if it did get turned down, he would have an opportunity to go.
You have oversight.
Oversight, okay, that's good.
But the legislation and the general law gives you discretion on whether or not to grant a license. That's why, when he did it the first time, we drafted, at that time he had an attorney, and we worked together on it, so that it would be, the public would have an opportunity for input, and it would simply be the opportunity for you to consider and take public input and then make a decision, rather than have it be a foregone conclusion on the basis of a home rule petition that does not require prior notice to the public in the area, and so there wouldn't be a surprise to people. Because when he comes, if the legislation passes, there'll be a public hearing with notice to abutters, publication in the newspaper, and so then at that point you can vet all the issues.
Right, so some of these issues I brought up, we can vet
Yeah.
then. So now some of the better stuff. Scott, I voted fully for you one last time, and I know you run a great business there.
Thank you.
You really do. So I want you to, whatever else can help you to stay in business, you know. I don't know a lot about these things either, because I was thinking like it was the white claws and all that stuff, but that's not what it is.
No.
Right, so I'm learning a little something here too, the RTDs. I'll be at your basement with those.
I'm still gonna get slits and paps.
Okay, so I'm gonna vote in favor of this right now.
Thank you.
Counselor.
Thank you, Councilor Chen. And just so everybody understands, what we are voting tonight just takes it to the legislature.
Right, I didn't understand.
And then if it's approved by them, then it would come back to us and we'd have a whole nother run at it, so to speak. Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion, and it's a majority roll call vote to approve Resolution 22-62. All those in favor,
Oh, wait a minute.
sure. Did you have a comment? Sure.
My name is Krunal Contractor. I'm here with my father. Thank you. I'm here with my father, Promote Contractor, and my wife, Harold. We own the Lincoln Street Market, mentioning that down the road there's a gas station.
Yeah.
And we've been there since 2013. Our family is working every day, 10 hours a day. Now in 2019, there was a place down the road, Daisy's Liquor. Now that liquor store was not doing good, and the owner decided to sell the license. So we paid extra money, we took the loan, so the license stay in the community. Now, the new license is that Mr. Scott is applying. He already have a beer and wine. Now he's just a 0.3 mile from us, and we are already meeting the community's need, the neighborhood. There is no need for extra full package store that can be next to each other. There are multiple streets that may have available space. They need a package store, but not this close. So I'm here to request not to grant with my family.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Pramod Contractor. My son explained that this business we run it. Actually, I have a heart problem and I have a heart transplant. Though I am running the business, right now my heart is working on the battery. And I am running this business at the 72. So it's very close to my business. And I don't think there is any necessity of hard liquor that we think. So please, otherwise we can't survive. Right now we are doing good with the community. There is no complaint at all. Everybody likes us. So if possible, and already you gave the beer wine license to this guy in 2019 or 20. So if you, it is my request not to issue this hard liquor license. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience? Okay, seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 22-62, and a majority vote's required, and because Councilor Frangillo is now at the meeting remotely, this will need to be a roll call vote. All the votes the rest of the evening will need to be roll call. So clerk would call the roll, please.
Will do.
Is he?
Is he present?
Yep.
All right. Sheridan?
No.
No. Cormier Ledger?
Yes.
Chandler?
Yes.
Frangillo?
Yes.
Pellegri?
Can I get a clarification
Sure.
before the vote? We're not voting this right now.
No.
We're only for legislation. It'll be coming back to us to vote.
Yes, miss.
All right, we're just going to
This
do this
isn't granting
first
a
step.
license. This is
Okay,
not
just wanted
granting
them
a
to know
license.
that.
Yeah, it's
So
not.
for that reason, I'll vote yes.
Hamlin?
No.
Jones? No. DeLarco?
Yes.
Mercer?
Yes.
Okay, sir. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 3 again, 3 no. 6 and 6.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, bylaw amendment 22-884, Chapter 170, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 4, Stopping, Standing, and Parking, Subsection 170-15, Parking Prohibitions and Limitations, D, Parking Prohibited, Downtown Parking Map. This is the first reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Bylaw Amendment 22-884, Chapter 170, Vehicles and Traffic. A bylaw to amend the Code of the Town of Franklin in Chapter 170, Vehicles and Traffic at Article 4, Stopping, Standing, and Parking, Subsection 170-15, Parking Prohibitions and Limitations D, Parking Prohibited. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 170, the Code of the Town of Franklin, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 4, Stopping and Standing and Parking, Subsection 170-15, Parking Prohibitions and Limitations D, Parking Prohibited, is hereby amended as follows. Subsection 170-15, Parking Prohibitions and Limitations. No person shall stand or park any vehicle at any time. A, upon streets or parts thereof where such a prohibition is posted. B, at bus stops, except buses, and no person shall park a bus within business district at any place other than a bus stop where nearby bus stop is available. C, at a taxi stand, except taxi cabs, and no person shall park a taxi cab upon any street within the business district at any place other than the taxi stand designated for use by the taxi cab or taxi cabs, except while engaged or while waiting for the opportunity to use that taxi cab. This is the change to D, parking prohibited. Downtown parking district boundaries are those contained on map captioned Downtown Parking District, prepared by the Town of Franklin Engineering Department dated July 13th, 2016, and revised through the effective date of this legislation, the original of which is on file with the Town Clerk, and a copy which is appended hereto as an Attachment 1, prohibitions and limitations on streets and contained within the districts as shown on said map. This bylaw amendment shall become effective on and after July 1st, 2023. The map currently on file with the Town Clerk, as most recently revised, shall remain in effect until July 1st, 2023.
Move bylaw amendment 22-884 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, so the next 4 items on the council agenda are all interrelated relative to downtown parking. These are all proposals that were endorsed by the EDC at a meeting a couple of weeks ago. And this has been a discussion that the EDC has had on several meetings throughout the year. And just a reminder, the downtown parking lots in particular are on the town administrator and town. No, Dell, I don't want your features, especially right now. But this is a goal on the list for the council and the town administrator for this year. I'm going to do absolutely the best I can to summarize this very quickly. Between the current map, which is up over there, actually if we could flip one of the other things over, and then the new map. So I want to assure everybody between the two, the current district and the new one,
Everything that is in red with no parking is exactly the same, and there were no changes at all. The no parking zones were created mainly on the original map from either town engineers, the DPW, or the police as areas where the roads were too narrow or the turn radius wasn't enough for public safety. So there was nothing changed in terms of the no parking areas on the map. If there are no colors, you can park freely wherever you want. There are no restrictions, there's no regulations, there's nothing. None of that has changed either. The blue color, which is 2-hour parking, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday on most of the residential feeder streets. There used to be 2 colors in 2 zones. One was from 8 a.m. to, I believe it was noon, and one was 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have merged all of those residential streets to 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday with no other restrictions. Those were largely at the time areas that were trying to prevent either Dean College students or commuters from stashing their cars on certain roads all day during the week. I've heard very little feedback or complaints about all of those, about the blue and purple areas. So just for simplicity of signage and for consistency in the entire district, those 2 are merged into one area. And really those 3, Mr. Chairman, those 3 categories that I just mentioned have really had wide public support and really no issues. So I just want to make sure that most of the map that's here has really been has been very well received from the public. The 2 areas that are changed, or the one area really on the map, is downtown commercial on both Main Street and East Central Street. As I mentioned at the last meeting, the council did approve this zone earlier this year, but the bill did not get to a second reading as we had more discussions with the stakeholders and eventually arrived. The EDC proposal was 1-hour parking on those strips, but the EDC did change, and the proposal before you tonight is 2-hour parking on Main Street and East Central Street. This is designed to try to get maximum rotation of cars and to try to get, we've heard many complaints through the years of cars being stashed. The new zone would be 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 2-hour parking, Monday through Saturday, and there would be no overnight parking allowed on that strip, which I think has been the chief complaint, I see heads bobbing,
Yes.
that many people have been concerned about. So I think Monday through Saturday, and then Sunday, of course, is free, just like most districts have free and open parking with no restrictions. So again, just Main Street, just East Central Street, on just that area, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 2-hour parking, Monday through Saturday, no overnight. Some people have said to me, and I understand the argument, 6 p.m. Well, if you park at 4, you get your 2 hours, and then from 6 p.m. to midnight, you got free parking anyway. So ultimately, that zone is actually further extended for parking purposes on Main Street and East Central Street. The next piece that we have added to the map are the parking lots in terms of the spaces. The main goal and the main problem that we've seen is that commuting has dissipated quite a bit. It's almost non-existent. And so we used to sell out in Depot and Ferrara Street, those lots. All of those spaces used to be occupied by either commuters or merchants. And in real earnest, it was really one merchant that was actually taking up almost all of the merchant spaces. Almost 20 of the 24, I believe, was taken up by one merchant. Obviously, from the pandemic, the MBTA and merchants everybody needs less parking spaces. And so we've brought forth a proposal which will be in the bylaws later on, but does quickly relate to this map. We've outlined the lots that are owned or leased by the town on this map to be clear about how many spaces and the regulations. And what we've put on here for Depot Street, the town does own this lot. Most people, know that. What most people don't know is the Ferrara's lot below. The town does not own that. We lease that. So I just want to make sure everybody, because there's been a lot of questions coming in on this. The library parking lot up off of Main Street, we do not own that. The town does not own that. Dean College owns it. The town has certainly a lifelong lease on that space. And then I added to the map as well, which was at the recommendation of the staff, the Davis Thayer parking, because the town now officially owns the Davis Thayer parcel. So we needed at least the regulation of no overnight parking at Davis Thayer, otherwise you'll have 55 spaces occupied every day with people parking there overnight.
Yep.
So what we've done on the map for this vote right now, Mr. Chairman, is that we've only labeled on here, we'll get to the merchant and the fees and the rates and all that stuff later. But for the purpose of this map, the main changes are East Central and Main Street, and then we've put no overnight parking from midnight to 6 a.m. in all 4 of the leased and owned parking lots within downtown to make sure that the lots are cleaned out and there's nobody stashing their cars there all weekend, all night.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Chandler, quizzical look.
Yeah, this is, so you just explained all 4 of the bylaws at once?
Yeah.
A little, I didn't get, I
Explained
stopped.
this one fully
Last one.
and
Yeah.
just touched on some of the others so we didn't have to repeat.
Okay, it was a little confusing.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was, yeah. Very confusing. So, quick question on this map. We did we add a handicap spot?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes.
2.
Where are those?
Right here on the Depot lot on one side, and then the other side would be closest to Depot Street, and another one would be placed on the corner of Dean Ave.
Thank you, that was helpful. I'm very happy about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Any other councilors? Councilor Jones.
I was gonna say that we added 2 handicap parking spaces, but you asked the question. I think, I think in all honesty, one of the major points that came out of the EDC was the fact that, this was probably in all the years that we've been talking about parking, that this is by far probably one of the best plans I've seen come across our desk. With the exception of a little bit debate in regards to how much time the spaces should be right on Main Street and on East Central Street, we all came to the same conclusion that 2 hours seemed reasonable. And this is a great plan. I 100% endorse these parking spaces. And-
Thank you,
and
Coun-
I think everyone around for hours would agree it'd be nice to get those parking spots free up too.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Pellegrini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to make sure I'm reading it right. Note that this map was revised by the EDC to reflect 2-hour parking, right? On Main Street and East Central Street. We already have no parking, 2-hour parking on Dean Avenue. And it's not being followed. And I'm not talking, I spoke to the chief tonight already. There are some cars there that are just being stubborn, and they're parking all day. And I know for a fact because I've checked it. And they've been spoken to, and still not being tagged. So what makes us think we're gonna tag these people on Main Street and East Central Street? Perhaps this is the time, and I'm encouraging the police department, that we may need to have a parking clerk. That would be, what did we call that person? I don't know.
Parking clerk.
No, I don't think it was.
There was.
Parking control officer, thank you. That's what we need. You know, we do. But if we're gonna make bylaws, then we have to have someone that's going to enforce them. So please keep that in mind, everyone, when we vote for something like this. You can vote for anything you want, but if it's not gonna be followed through, it's a waste of time. It really is. And a waste of our time going through all of this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank
That's
you,
just
Council-
on this one here
Yeah.
first.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor DeLorco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was thinking the same thing, how are we gonna control it, but I've been driving around town, and on East Central Street, I've seen the cars tagged there.
Good.
So, so I've seen them tagged a few times down there. And I've been going down East Central Street to, deliver oil and stuff like that, and I have seen them tagged, so I wanna bring that up.
Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I just asked Lieutenant Riley, who's in the audience as well, who runs the Operations Division, which is the marked patrol officers that are out there on the street, how many tickets did we do in September? Parking tickets. He said over 100.
He knows for a fact it was over 100. You know, a lot of them have been handed out around, you know, not every day you're gonna go out and you're gonna see it, because the sector car might have went on a call that was a little bit more important than having to write parking fines. It is what it is. It's 2 hours, so you gotta go by, and then you have to go by after 2 hours. Could be 3 hours, could be 4 hours. But they're doing the best they can in this and that. Do we have a dedicated individual? No, I rolled that into a patrol officer's position. All right, it wasn't enough for a full patrol officer's position, but it was enough to get us over the top with a few other kind of maneuvers that we were able to do so that we could go from 53 to 54, which we need. We're doing, you know, again, we do the best we can. I know Lieutenant Riley doesn't like hearing it from me on a daily basis. Make sure you go down there and hammer them, you know, and I'm sure that he's getting the same feedback from, you know, his troops that, hey, we're trying to do the best we can, Lieutenant, but you also want us to do all the speeding enforcement that everybody wants, and so forth and so on. So, that's all. I'm just, you are gonna see times where a car has not been tagged, that probably should have been tagged, and it's not that we don't wanna do it, it's just we haven't been able to get to it.
You haven't caught Councilor DeLarco speeding on Washington Street yet?
We're trying.
Okay.
You gotta move that guy, I know where he is.
He's a slippery son.
Okay, questions? Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is more a question, I think, to the town administrator, but some of the parking issues obviously come up a lot, you know, in certain areas, particularly around Dean. And I did notice a pretty lengthy thread through one of our town social media pages today that talked about they were legal parking spaces, but there was no signage for residents to move trash and recycle receptacles, so therefore the parking spaces are basically blocking where people put out their trash. Is it possible that that could be incorporated into a sign or something on trash day so that those residents don't have to find alternate means for their trash, but we could still keep those parking spaces?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, it's a good question. I mean, at some point, and I do not mean this to come across snarky, but those are legal spots where those cars were parked. I think it's kind of like city life. We have to just figure out the day we have trash and maybe move it a few feet over if there's going to be cars parked there. Whether it was a Dean College student or a relative or another friend that went over, the car is still parked in front of the trash. And I think to some degree we have to all modify our behavior. Instead of putting up more signs and directives, do this, do that. And the reason why I say that is, to the chief's point a minute ago, in the comments I embedded in the memo, talk about investments that I think this town council is going to have to look at in the next year's budget relative to speeding. I get complaints every day about it, bar none. Every single day there are emails, phone calls, yelling and screaming about more signage, people blowing off signage. People are just, whatever the system is. So I think to some degree we have to kind of live and learn. We've already striped off the area, so I can talk to the town engineer about some more signs. But I think the residents down there are going to have to also realize that there may be people, whether they're, regardless of where they're from, they may have to just adjust where they move the trash. Or we could have Brutus send out another voicemail.
No, but in
if you're in the
and I agree with you that people have to adjust and, you know, modify, but at the same time, the particular homes in place happen to be a lot of seniors, and they bring their trash out where they've been bringing their trash out forever. So maybe in the community meetings coming up that we're going to be having with Dean, this can be discussed, and maybe it just becomes part of the culture that maybe the Dean kids would, you know, maybe help move those over for those residents, just to be good neighbors. But
I think that's a really good
idea. I just
idea.
wanted to bring it up as a point, because people are talking about it and concerned, so thank you.
I think that's the winning idea. I think that type of model of just asking for some community bonding, if you will, of trying to help each other out.
Just courtesy.
And courtesy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Glenn.
I mean, I would think if I parked in front of someone's trash, I would immediately think, oh, how are they going to get their trash collected because my car's here? But if you're a busy college kid, you're running off to class, you might not stop and think that. And now the resident, the trash just going right by and not having any way to grab it. So, anyway, just food for thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Frangillo.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for bringing these changes forward and for listening to EDC and the people that came before the EDC. I think that this does so much good. If anything, I would go further than what's been provided, but I think we'll have time to. I really would love to see residential parking permit incorporated as we continue to not make our downtown properties add more parking to the already abundant parking that we have. My one change to what's in front of us today, or proposed change, is that similar to what Councilor Cormier-Ledger was just speaking to, there are going to be things that come up, mistakes that we made, changes, abuses that happen, responsiveness to behaviors.
Dead
Uh-oh.
zone.
Have a good flight.
He's in the Ted Williams Tunnel.
He's in the Ted Williams Tunnel.
It'd be a waste of the councilors continue to be the ones that have to go through 3 different hearings, often 4, for a few months to make a minor modification an hour or to a specific spot or destination. And I really think that it would be better for us to empower the town administrator in collaboration with the Department of Planning and Community Development to make changes for the betterment of the downtown parking district that don't require 3 public hearings for every change. So I have a motion to amend, if I may, which would be adding to the end of the downtown parking district.
Hang on, Councilor
Yep.
Frangillo, just for a second. Attorney Sorrell?
You can't go beyond what's in the proposed amendment at this time. This is a process for what's in front of you now. You could narrow it, but you can't expand it. You have to bring separate legislation.
So in other words, if Councilor Frangillo is proposing to delegate the authority of some of the time zones that are on here, what the town attorney is saying from a legal perspective, you'd have to bring back a separate piece of legislation for action. You can't, this is a map. So the language change is a whole different bylaw set that is outside the bounds of what's in front of us right now.
Colby, you can propose this, but not in this situation on this resolution or bylaw amendment. Did you understand that?
I apologize. I couldn't hear Councilor Sorrell, so apologies if I missed the directive. I think it fits neatly within the current bylaw that we're discussing and matches a move that we're making in 10 minutes.
Yeah, unfortunately, according to the town attorney, we can't do that at this juncture, but a different amendment could, or a different bylaw amendment could be brought forward to do exactly what you're suggesting we do, but it would have to be a separate bylaw amendment.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
that's how the town attorney has explained it to us.
Could I get a little more understanding? Like, how would this look different than adding language that says town administrator is authorized to amend the map for the betterment of the downtown parking district?
Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. So the bylaw is actually about parking, prohibitions and limitations,
Right.
not about authority.
And it's been summarized
Okay.
in a map, but for ease of legislation. So we put it in a map to try to expedite the process, but it's still referencing what's showing on the map. It's not going to specific authority as between the council and the town administrator. you'd have to add a provision somewhere else in that chapter to accomplish what Councilor Frangillo is suggesting.
I think in short, Kobe, I don't, your amendment
Great.
can't be put on this bylaw amendment, but it's certainly something we can discuss going forward.
Okay.
All right.
I'll take your word for that, and again, I thank you for this. I'm in favor of it all, and I hope that we consider not doing this whole dance every time we put a parking spot in the wrong place.
You're preaching to the choir here. I certainly don't want to go through 3 readings every single time.
No.
So, thank you, Kobe. Any
you.
other counselors?
I have a quick question.
Oh, Counselor Chandler.
I thought we were on 22,884. He was talking about 22,885.
No, we're on.
No,
We're on 22,884. And
Right.
what he was trying to do, just told him he can't do.
885, okay.
Yeah.
He was basically saying, excuse me, he's basically saying, well, you're doing it in this other bylaw, why can't you do it here? But that bylaw is set up differently than this one.
Okay. I just want to know we were going in the right order.
We are going.
No, I mean, because I have other things to say, and this is,
Yeah.
the way this was put to us is still, I mean, EDC, I wish you would explain this a little more to us before we had a vote on this.
Well, don't blame them.
I am. That's why it's called the chairman out.
Okay, anything else?
When we get to the next bylaw thing.
Okay. Any other, Counselor Hamblin?
I really wanted to explain it a little bit to you, Counselor Chandler.
Thank you.
So I wanted to thank Lieutenant Riley and the Chief Lynch and all the town staff for going through this with us. This is just the map that explains, we're adding a no overnight parking zone. We did discuss, and we added handicap parking to the map. It shows where the the spaces are now, which have fees on them, which we will discuss in the next section. But this is just about this no overnight parking area and the new handicap parking spaces. And we did discuss how would we enforce these issues, as Councilor Pellegrini mentioned, with the chief and with Jamie. And I think we all agree that we need to be able to enforce these things if we put them into the bylaw.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. There were a lot of people there, and we took everybody's input and we came up with this map. So I think there's a lot of people that are who like this, what we've done.
Okay.
Thank you.
I had my last question, I promise.
Sure.
So there's no parking after midnight, is that what you're saying? There's no parking after midnight?
No overnight
No.
parking.
That's correct. After
Yes.
Okay, so you can park from midnight till what time then?
No, you
No,
can't.
you can't, that's what I'm
Yeah.
getting at.
Right.
So, like downtown, eventually, aren't we gonna try and bring some establishments down there that are open past midnight? And you're saying there's no parking 12 o'clock? Do I have that wrong?
I agree.
I mean, that makes no, what, are they all gonna come out of the bars at 12 and we, you know, it's not, you're not gonna tell the police not to do their job and ticket them.
Well, I think,
I mean, how does that work? Thank you.
Jamie?
through you, Mr. Chairman, there's no establishment currently.
After 11.
Right, but
Okay, I'll wait.
I just want to take one step back. Why are we here? This is clearly due to the pandemic. It is. Businesses are closed much earlier. The public is not going out to downtown Franklin at 1 in the morning. I respect the fact that maybe a year or two, it's just like the commuter lots, right? The commuter lots are dead. They're not coming back the way they were 2 years ago. In a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, it very well is the case that we could be coming back at some point. Councilor Chandler, if you want later than midnight, from midnight to 6, say, is the time on the map where there's no parking in downtown. If you want to amend the map to make it 2 a.m. to 6, we absolutely could do that.
Right, because my point
So,
was.
or 1 a.m. to 6.
I'll wait till
Yeah. or just 1 a.m. to 6. But I just think that right now, there's really literally nothing open. Maybe hang tight till 10. And so I think the sentiment of the community and the folks talking about the issues are really, most of this revolves around daytime and evening, not, I just think the focus, nobody ever brought up, Counselor Chandler, anything about, late night.
Well,
Yeah, about late
I'll
night.
just make the quick point. Like, box seats is open till 1. Like, when they were looking to come to town, they would look and say, I can't rent a spot downtown, there's no parking after 12.
Yeah.
I mean, we're supposed to be bringing people in, is what I'm getting at. And I think it defeats the whole purpose of what your committee's trying to do.
Well, if I might jump in here for a minute, and we can make it 1 o'clock, we can make it 2 o'clock.
Well, last
It
call.
doesn't matter. The issue, I believe the issue with the merchants is not the night merchants. It's the 8 o'clock in the morning or the 7 o'clock in the morning merchants who do not want cars there when they open, that have parked there all night and may not
And
come
I
up
agree
till
with that
9
1,000%.
o'clock.
I also agree that we want something to go into where Acapulco's was. You know what I mean? That's
Sure,
what I'm.
sure.
So it does make a difference. I think it makes a difference.
And all I'm saying is, we can make it 1 or 2.
Well, like I said, last.
Offer
call
an
is-
amendment.
last-
You can make a
I will
motion to
make an
amend.
amendment right now.
It's a motion to amend, you have to say.
Motion to amend to make it 2 in the morning, no overnight parking from 2 to 6 then.
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion on the amendment.
I think 1 would probably be
Well,
better.
what's last call?
I think 1 o'clock.
One.
It's 1?
I know it sounds semantics, but I think 1 o'clock would probably be better.
Chief? Just so that everybody,
I can't tell you how many are actually working because I don't want to say it, but there's more working until 2 than there is after, from 2 o'clock on. Let's put it that way. The way that the schedule's set up, so that we'd have a better opportunity to probably enforce it than if it was at 1 o'clock, between 1 and 2, than it would be after 2.
I just did not want to
Okay.
push businesses away because of.
Totally understand. I'm just saying from a,
yeah,
from a
Police.
personnel staffing levels,
Yeah.
it would probably work.
2
And like you said,
o'clock.
there's nothing open after,
Yeah.
Would be after 1
Yeah.
anyway.
My motion's on the table.
yeah,
Discussion?
okay.
No, we can vote on it now.
Discussion on the amendment. Counselor Sheridan.
I used to stay up to 1 o'clock last call, but that just seems really late now, but I'll vote for it.
Any, Counselor Jones?
Again, to the point of the 6 AM, that's really the biggest deal, is getting the
It's the
people out
morning.
of the spaces, is the big deal. So where, if everyone agrees on 2, then I don't have a problem with that.
Counselor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I think it really is for the early morning to get the people that stay overnight off the road in the morning. But this also goes to the idea of allowing the town administrator to change the times when they fit what the population wants. If we want to go to 2, we can go to 2. It's okay. 2 a.m.
Counselor Cormier Ledger?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to support Councilor Chandler's points, because I do think if we're going to try to encourage business and they're closing last call at 1 o'clock, people still have to be allowed time to get to their cars. Staff have to be allowed time to lock up and get to their cars, so I would be in favor of 2 o'clock. There's really no excuse why they can't get to their car by 2. Right, if it, like, gives them a whole hour, and it should clear up those spaces so that the businesses can be open and ready to go at 8, so it makes sense.
Thank you. Counselor Frangillo?
Just going to say I love it, Counselor Chandler. It was a great catch, a great addition, and as Counselor Hamblin said, just more evidence that we should allow our town administration to be more responsive to the needs of the district. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, a roll call vote on the amendment. Clerk will call the roll.
Well, this is just a first reading anyways, isn't it?
Yeah, it still has to be roll call vote because we have a remote.
Oh, right. Thanks, Kobe.
You can,
Formula Ledger.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
Frangillo.
Yes.
Pellegri.
Yes.
Hamblin.
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
9-0, sir. Okay,
Amendment.
just to note that this is this is to amend.
Yeah, it's the amendment.
Yeah, just to amend,
There'll be a
22.
separate vote to.
22.
Now-
Now it's, we already.
Let me handle it,
Okay.
okay?
Absolutely. I was just gonna
Okay.
say what it was about, that's all.
I just did. We will now vote on the bylaw amendment 22-884 as amended.
Right.
I have a question.
Would you move that?
Move, move bylaw amendment 22-84 as amended to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Councilor Pellegri.
I'm looking at 22-884. I don't see anywhere in this bylaw that it has times. What am I missing?
It's on the map.
It's on the map,
But it's not in the bylaw.
The map's referenced.
in the bylaw.
Where is it telling me that it's the maps?
It's the very end.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, item D, 170-15, parking prohibitions and limitations. Alicia, excellent job. Parking prohibited, item D, downtown parking district boundaries. Are those contained on map, captioned, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
On file with the town clerk.
It's right here. The map.
And the map is what has the times on it?
Yeah, it's right at the top. If you go over to the paper copy, Councilor Pellegri,
Yeah.
you'll see right at the top, downtown parking district. Oh, thank you.
He's got
That
it
was
right there.
perfect.
It's right there.
I didn't see it.
It wouldn't have been easier to put it in the bylaw?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, actually, 6 years ago, the council voted to take all that out of the bylaw and put it into a map that was easier to understand. I understand that, well, everybody voted for that 6 years ago.
It was easier to amend than to go through line by line as we do with a lot of the other street signs and things like that. That's how it was set up. We
Right.
took a whole section out of here
20
and
pages.
simplified it.
Sometimes when we simplify things, it makes it more difficult to understand, but I
That
see
council
what you're saying.
instructed that.
I
That was
see
the
what you're
council at the
saying.
time wanted to do it that way.
We'll put it back in as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any
I
other,
agree with it, but-
any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 22-884 as amended to a second reading. A majority votes required. Clerk will call the roll.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Formula Ledger.
Yes.
Frangillo.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
Hamblin.
Yes.
Pellegri.
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
9-0, sir.
Motion carries. Bylaw Amendment 22-885, Chapter 170, Vehicles and Traffic, Subsection 170-20, Additional Regulations, Violations, and Penalties. First reading, clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 22-885, Chapter 170, Vehicles and Traffic, a bylaw to amend the code of the town of Franklin to Chapter 170, Section 20, additional regulations, violations, and penalties. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 170 of the code of the town of Franklin is amended at Section 20, additional regulations, violations, and penalties as follows. Subsection 170-20, additional regulations, violations, and penalties. Town administrator is hereby authorized and directed to establish parking permit spaces in such parking zones as are hereby specified, or as may be hereinafter fixed by amendment, and to indicate the same by white markings upon the surface of the highway or the designated parking area. Parking permit spaces within the established parking zones may be assigned or reassigned by the town administrator from time to time to different uses as permitted by this subsection 170-20, or to different lengths of use. B,
The original B has been deleted. C has also been deleted and revised. B states, "The town administrator is hereby authorized and directed to set the user fees for all municipal parking lots." D, the original D is now changed to C. And the remainder of it reads, "Parking prohibited of certain commercial vehicles in residential districts. It shall be unlawful for any resident or any owner, agent, operator, or person to charge of any bus, semi-trailer, trailer, motor, truck, tractor." I don't have to read that part, okay. That's fine.
Attorney Sorrell?
So to fairly summarize, it was, all the specifics were stricken, and the town administrator was given the authority to set user fees, and the language contrary was stricken, and then it was renumbered.
Okay. Go ahead.
Ready?
Yeah.
Move bylaw amendment 22-885 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, this is, as Mark summarized it well. The next bylaw, which had to be separate, the next one, after this one, proposes to strike the dedicated merchant and commuter spaces. One of the biggest complaints I know all of you get, and I get, is nobody can park in the downtown Depot Street or Ferraris lots unless you're a commuter or a merchant.
Yes.
You're one or the other, and you buy a quarterly pass for $180 a quarter. What we're proposing deep in the packet is to actually get kiosks, Flowbird kiosks, which allow change, cash, credit card, and app on a daily fee rate. The issue is that if you charge $3 a day to park for a commuter, and you're a shopper and you come in and go out to lunch, and shop around downtown for 2 or 3 hours, the rate is then prorated in the system. So somebody can pay 50 cents or $1. So you can't really have structured rates because you're ending up having a prorated system because you don't want somebody to pay for an hour for $3. It's fair. So in lieu of actually having a specific merchant space or commuter-only space, the spaces are now open to everybody on a first-come, first-served basis. And it will likely be, as the current rate is $3 a day. You can't go in there and park for $3 a day. You have to pay $180 a quarter. Commuters called police department and us as well and said, "I don't work 5 days in Boston anymore. I work 2 days in Boston. I just want to park for 2 days. I don't want to pay for 5 days a week for 3 months. I just want to pay for the days that I'm going into Boston and commuting." I want to also note at $3 a day, that is half the price of what the MBTA charges in the lot down near the train station in downtown. So I'm sure many people have questions. It's about as quick of an overview as I can give. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions? Councilor Pellegrini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I thought that the council was the only body that could set fees. And we're turning this over now to the town administrator to set fees. So something's wrong here.
Attorney Sorrell.
It's because the bylaws specify that the council sets the fees. So if you
The
put
council
this,
sets the
this
fees.
language in, you certainly have the authority to delegate it. It's not like a charter provision or something.
No, I know it's not a charter revision, Mark, but I'm saying, fees were always voted on by the town council.
Well, you can choose to keep that system, but you don't have to. It's
Well-
not etched in stone anywhere. You can make exceptions to it, which is what's being proposed here.
And how did we change to allow the town administrator to set fees rather than the council?
We didn't change.
We're doing it right now.
We're doing, that's what's being asked right now.
That red line on B.
And it's not all fees, correct?
It's not all
And-
fees.
It's
It's
just the
only
fee
just
here.
the parking.
I just don't think any fees, I think all the fees should come through the town council.
Okay, you
Yeah.
have the,
Town council, I mean, come on, that's our responsibility. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
any other questions? Councilor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So This is about a fee, like, for parking, so we've opened up the parking downtown so that everyone can go there. But we still have to, instead of charging $180 for a quarter, we have to decide how much we're gonna charge for this kiosk that's gonna go in there. And I think you even mentioned it, Councilor Pellegrini, that you don't wanna hear about every little tiny thing that we have to change all the time. And this will definitely be something that needs to be adapted and worked on and tried to figure out. So, so that's why we thought it would be a good idea for the town administrator to at least work on how do we figure out how we charge and what's the best way to start.
Through you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr.
Chairman.
Chairman.
That's fine, that the town administrator can certainly figure out what it would cost and all, but then it comes back to us, for us to decide, yes, we want to do that, and no, we don't want it that much. It's our responsibility, that's what we were voted for. We were voted in for, excuse me.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 22-885 to a second reading. A majority vote's required, but because Councilor Frangillo's remote, we are roll call. Clerk will call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cormier Ledger.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Chandler.
No.
Frangillo.
Yes.
Pellegrini.
No.
Hamlin.
Yes.
Jones, no. DeLorca.
No.
Chairman.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Chairman, that's 5-4, sir.
Wow.
5-4.
5-4. 4 again.
5-4, 4 again. Motion carries
5-4.
to a second reading. Okay, bylaw amendment 22-886, Chapter 82, fees, municipal service, subsection 82-6, subsection K, police. First reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 22-886, Chapter 82, municipal service fees. A bylaw to amend the code of the town of Franklin in Chapter 82, Section 82-6, subsection K, police. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 82 of the Code of Town of Franklin is amended at Section 82-6, Schedule of Service Fees, subsection K, Police, by redacting municipal parking lot permits and the respective fees as set out below. The changes to subsection 82-6, Schedule of Service Fees. There are parking permits that have been deleted off of this list to reflect the downtown merchant employee municipal lot fees of $180 per quarter and the community rail municipal parking of $180 per quarter. This bylaw amendment shall be effective in accordance with the provisions of the Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 22-886 to a second reading.
Second.
Discussion, Jamie?
Mr. Chairman, all this through to the council, the only vote that's being taken on this is to strike out the $180 per quarter parking permits out of the fee schedule for the police. That's it.
Okay.
Everybody understand that? Okay, discussion? Councilor
Once
Pellegrini?
again, we're taking it out, and that's fine, because it's our responsibility to do that.
Right.
But we're putting nothing in there, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So right now, after this, when it passes, downtown merchants, employee, municipal lot, there's no charge for them,
Right.
because we'll
Correct.
have nothing here.
Until the kiosk gets put
Mr.
in.
Chairman,
Attorney Sorrell?
so this is to move it to a second reading. At that time, in my opinion, you're gonna have to reconcile your votes on the second reading of the prior bylaw and this one and decide exactly how you want the two to work together or not. But this is just to advance it to second reading and keep your options on the table.
So is this prematurely done? Should we be taking
No,
this
because
up?
it takes two readings to
It
do
takes
it.
2 readings.
Yes, but I mean, until we find out about the kiosks and what it's gonna cost us and all.
We know, through Mr. Chairman, we know exactly what everything's gonna cost.
You know already.
Oh, yeah.
So why didn't we add it in here? Mr. Chairman, through you.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. So I think one of the challenges in the kiosks, again, right now, the $180 per quarter is a fee that was accumulated when there was way more demand than supply at $3 a day. I think it was 5 years ago, the council raised the parking fee from $120 per quarter to $180 per quarter. Okay, that was like in 2016 or 17, right? And so in lieu of there being a fee in here, I will then put out and set the rate when the machines arrive. I just want to also clarify, which I don't think I've said or anybody else has said, all of these resolutions are not going to go into effect until next July. Because to order the kiosks is a 4 to 5 month lead time. Then we have to actually hook them up with the treasurer collector. There's software affiliated with it. Brutus is also going to take about 2 months to probably redo all of the signs in downtown. So even though you're voting now, I need these votes to be able to order the kiosks and do all the other stuff, because it's going to take 5 or 6 months. If I get the machines in February, I can't install them. I got to wait till the ground thaws. So when I set the rate, which will likely be $3, then that will be the rate, and then the kiosks will prorate it. So if you go at 6 a.m. and you're a commuter, you pay your $3, you have the whole day. But if you go into the parking lot at 3 p.m. and you go to park, you might only get charged 75 cents. So I don't even know what the rate could possibly be, because the machine is going to end up prorating it so somebody doesn't overpay all day. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, you still have the floor, Councilor
Then let me
Clegg.
ask you this. Why at the end of the bylaw, like we always have, the bylaw amendment shall become effective and according to the provisions of the Franklin Home Rule Charter, which is 14 days. So this becomes effective in 14 days.
That would be, I thought there was in here July 1st, the other resolutions do. So you could amend this to say effective July 1st, 2023.
Well, these are the things that should have been done. That's why I said, is this premature that it's coming to us?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I am working with the staff to try to put together a very complicated set of dynamics. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, but excuse me, you're absolutely right, and I appreciate all of that. And on bylaw 879, it does say become effective
Yeah,
July
right.
1st, 23, but these
So-
others don't. They say according to the Home Rule Charter, which is 14 days.
We can certainly, make a motion to amend this one. We can deal with this one, right?
I'd like to make a motion to amend, bylaw amendment 22-886 to include, will be effective starting July 1st, 2023.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Cormier Ledger.
Yes.
Frangillo.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
Hamlin.
Yes.
Allegri.
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
9-0 for
Motion carries.
Move bylaw amendment 22-886 as amended to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, clerk will call the roll.
Cormier Ledger.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
Frangillo.
Yes.
Allegri.
Yes.
Hamlin.
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair.
Yes.
9-0, sir. Chair.
Yes. Motion carries. Bylaw Amendment 22-879, Chapter 170, Vehicles and Traffic, Appendix A, Fines, Parking Violations, first reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 22-879, a bylaw to amend the Code of Town of Franklin at Chapter 170, Vehicles and Traffic. Appendix A, fines, be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 170, Vehicles and Traffic, Appendix A, fines of the Code of Town of Franklin is amended as follows. Chapter 170, Vehicles and Traffic, Appendix A, fines. Appendix A, fines, parking violations. Restricted, prohibited area, this is new, $25. Parking within a 10 feet of a hydrant entrance to a fire station going from $25 to $50. Obstructing a driveway is $25. Obstructing a crosswalk is $25. Obstructing a sidewalk is $25. All-night parking when restricted from $15 to $50. Snow removal, $15 to $25. Wrong direction from $15 to $25. Double parking, $25. Taxi stand from $15 to $25. Bus stop from $15 to $25. Parking within 20 feet of intersection, $25. Posted handicap parking from $125 to $150. Meter overtime, $15 to $25, and overtime parking from $15 to $25. Improper parking from $15 to $25, and unauthorized parking to $50. This bylaw amendment shall become effective on and after July 1st of 2023.
Move bylaw amendment 22-879 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Jamie, anything to add?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would add, and I think Councilor Hamlin will also mention, is these are all the proposals put forth by, I believe, Lieutenant Riley, with the one exception as outlined in the memo. The all-night parking when restricted, I believe, was up to $50.
Oh, it's the same.
Thank you. Councilor Jones?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to amend bylaw amendment 22-879 for all-night parking when restricted from $50 down to $25 because the general consensus of much of the public and other people during the EDC meeting was that a $25 fine seemed reasonable at the time. My reason for bringing it down to 25 is that it seems like a rather exuberant fee. If it doesn't prove to be effective, I think the council has the ability to amend this again in the future to a higher rate. But at the moment, I think it's a little too much. So I'd like to make a motion to amend all-night parking when restricted from $50 to $25.
Is there a second? Seeing no second, we're back to the original motion. Is there any discussion? Councilor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to thank Lieutenant Riley for working so hard on getting this fee schedule together for us. He did a lot of work and to look at other communities, what do people charge. And I think it's very important for everyone to notice that handicap parking, parking illegally in a handicap parking, that fee has gone up to $150. I think that's very important to keep our handicap spaces clear. But Lieutenant Riley did a wonderful job, and I just want to make sure everybody thanks him for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Chandler?
Quickly through you, Mr. Chairman. Again, thank you, Lieutenant Riley. I appreciate all that work. And Councilor Jones, with all due respect, I think, you know how I felt. I still think to get Dean under control, I think we need that $50 there. That was my reasoning. And again, I understand where you're coming from, but that's my reasoning. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Any other? Councilor Pellegrini?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. These changes of the second column, those are all first offenses. Is there a difference for a second or third or that offense?
Lieutenant Riley, you want to come forward, please?
Lieutenant Riley.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Chair. Lieutenant Riley for the Franklin Police Department. No, Councilor Pellegrini, there would not be a second and third offense. They're all primary.
They would all be the same.
But
So
they do
if
have
did
a,
it
they
one
do
night
have
and
a,
another.
they do have a, if you get so many, I believe it's 5, and don't pay them, then the fees get upped, and we can tow your car. And then there's implications through the registry of motor vehicle. We cannot renew your license and things like that if you don't pay your tickets.
So it would be like the non-criminal violations that we used to do. I don't know if we're still doing them now, but after so many, just what you said would happen, so.
correct.
Okay, so we're leaving those the way they are. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lieutenant Riley. Any other questions? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 22-879 to a second reading. Clerk will call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Cormier Ledger.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
Frangillo.
Yes.
Pellegrini.
Yes.
Hamblin.
Yes.
Jones. Yes. DeLorco.
Yes.
Vice Chair and Chair.
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank God.
Resolution 22-63, gift acceptance. Police Department, $2,550. Fire Department, $2,500. Clerk will read the resolution.
Very happy to read this resolution, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 2263, acceptance of gifts. Police Department and Fire Department, whereas the Police Department and Fire Department have received generous donations in the total amount of $5,050 to be used at the discretion of each respective department as follows. Donation summary. Police Department, $2,550. $2,500 donated by the Digital Federal Credit Union to be applied towards the purchase of safety and other related equipment and to fund departmental programs. $50 donated by Judith and James Balilio to support the department's Faith and Blue program scheduled for Saturday, October 8th, 2022. Fire Department, $2,500 donated by the Digital Federal Credit Union to be applied towards the purchase of safety and other related equipment and to fund departmental programs. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Franklin, on behalf of the police and fire departments, gratefully accepts these generous donations to be used at the discretion of each department as described above. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move Resolution 22-63.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other councilors? Again, we always like to thank the community for these gifts. It's very helpful, and it's good stuff. Thank you very much. The vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 22-63. Clerk will call a roll.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Cormier Ledger.
Yes.
Frangillo.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
Hamlin.
Yes.
Pellegrini.
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
And 0, sir.
Motion carries. And just so that the rest of the council is aware and the audience is aware, Councilor Frangillo is now going off of remote. So
Aye.
he will
Aye,
not be
Colby.
here. Have a nice trip,
Have
Kobe.
a nice trip, Colby.
So, moving on, Town Administrator's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the request of Councilor Chandler, I did put on here in case there was a question, the Beaver Street Interceptor. Essentially, right now, we're still waiting. We've applied for the SRF funding through DEP. Those awards will probably come out within the next couple of months. I don't know if the election has anything to do with it. We hope before, but we'll see. And ultimately, the issue right now, the interest rate will be stable. It's a minimum of 2%, but we likely will get 1.5%. The real decision next year, once the SRF gets approved, is really about when to go out to bid and what's the full cost of the project. And when we go to start it and we go to bid, we're in it. So the labor costs could be quite substantial. The materials costs could be quite substantial. So in terms of an update, everything's on schedule from what we proposed earlier this year. The remaining decision is going to be about timing of when to put the project out to bid to make sure we're not paying more than what's already even authorized, because it's just hard to gauge.
Thank you.
Is that?
Yeah.
That's great.
Appreciate
And also, through you, Mr. Chairman, summer doesn't stop the events, just in case folks get confused with so many things. October 8th, the Faith and Blue at the Interfaith Council at St. John's Church from 10 to 1. They're going to help families with car seat inspections and car seat installations, which is a great project with the church. October 8th from 10 to 1. October 15th, Touch a Truck, and we announced the hydrant winners of all the great painting that's been doing around the community from 10 to 2 at the DPW. October 22nd, the Del Cart Cleanup, their second Earth Day event. October 23rd is going to be the Fallen Firefighter Ceremony, as well as the Police Department Halloween Party for all the kids. That's great to have that back. And October 29th, to round out the month, is our open house at the Fire Department. And then, of course, on November 11th, the Veterans Day breakfast at the Elks. And then finally, Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out one more thing. On behalf of the staff, Alicia, Karen, and everybody, there's an award up on the wall over there. We're very proud of it. where we max out our training rewards credits every year through our insurance premium. We usually get back about $60,000 or $70,000 on our premium. We were only one of 8 municipalities this year to max out. That is a goal we set every year. We're really proud of it. Keeps our employees safe, saves us money, and we have really well-trained employees. If you want to know why our town employees do such a great job with all that they do, a lot of this training's it. We're in the league with Chelmsford, Foxborough, Franklin, Marlborough, Norwood, Walpole, Westborough, and Westford. So great company. I want to thank Alicia, Karen, and the entire staff of all the union reps who are on this. It's a great team effort. It's great for the town. So enough on some good news. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey.
Good stuff. Okay, moving on. Any questions for Jamie? Okay, moving on. Subcommittee reports. Capital hasn't met. Budget hasn't met. Economic, EDC hasn't met. And Kobe's gone, so no GATRA. Future agenda items. Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is probably something that Jamie would have to look into if we don't know for sure, but I recently discovered we have a final water reading inspection fee. Is that an approved fee by the town council?
It is.
Okay, can that be looked at going in a future, because I'm not, just as an aside, I'm not aware of any other community that charges its residents for moving and having they're getting a final water reading. It came up, recently during the closing on a home. Just seems like a very high fee to charge somebody for, simply moving and changing water, but if that could be looked at, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Pellegrini.
This is comments?
No, this is future agenda.
No. Well, perhaps, for the school department, is there a way that they can come forward and just give us an update of opening of school?
Sure, we said, we talked about having them come once a quarter, so we'll make that
That'd be good.
arrangements.
Okay, I'm all set
I'll
with that.
I'll give Denise a call, so. Councilor Sheridan.
Nothing this time.
Councilor Hamlin.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Jones.
That's it.
Councilor DeLorco. Okay, Councilor comments. Councilor Sheridan.
Just want to thank the Harvest Festival people organizers. It was a good time.
Great. Councilor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say happy birthday to Bobby Catalano, who was 100 years old. I missed the celebration, and I just wanted him to know that last year for Veterans Day, he made my dad's day. So thank you a lot, Bobby, and happy birthday. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamlin. Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, want to thank and congratulate Jamie and the team, because that's pretty awesome news about the training and saving us all that money, and that's certainly a lot of work and should not be overlooked. Thank you to everybody for their presentations tonight. I would like us to consider going forward, especially where we are trying to be ever more mindful of culture and of people's differences, that we should not be meeting on a Jewish high holiday. It just seems incredibly disrespectful that we're even here tonight. I understand that many people reached out to me and said they could not come tonight to voice their support of the various things being discussed because they were going to be with their families. So if we could be mindful of that going forward with our calendar prep, I think that would be only fair.
Absolutely.
And I would like to just ask if everybody would just indulge me in a quick moment of silence. Robert Lillis passed away today. He was a U.S. Navy and a decorated police chief down in New Haven, a very, very dear friend of the family. He passed today. He was born in 1938, and I told his family that we would just remember him today and thank him for his service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. All right, not to sound paranoid here, but Nancy Danello, who's above reproach, I'm not insinuating that she's, anything's gonna be wrong, but the way it was given tonight, how there's gonna be memory sticks taken out when, you know, ballots are done early. Do you think we could get something on the website, like how the, maybe the right word is chain of custody? Like, how is that gonna work, you know? It just seems like, I don't know, that they could be switched, they could be any, you know. What's happening with those? I can see you looking at me like I am being paranoid, but.
Councilor Chandler, I don't think you're being paranoid.
No.
I get to say this every once in a blue moon.
Okay.
I don't run elections.
Okay.
Maybe we can.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, could
In all
send her
seriousness,
the,
as somebody who has learned a lot in 24 years in this business, who spent a lot of time at a lot of election sites on a lot of election nights, and after the last few years, I think what the town clerk mentioned tonight, you know, first of all, I think her germane point in what she was trying to get across was all of those moments are all public access. So the testing of the machines, the opening of the ballots, all of that stuff, I think was trying, what she was trying to convey was that they were all open completely to the public. And we have had, I think Nancy has had some audiences in the last couple of years in the chamber, in the training room, in the high school, you know, and whatnot. You know, it's been fairly well attended. And so I don't know about the memory sticks. I'll have her reach out to you.
Yeah, I've never heard that before, that's why.
I didn't hear the memory sticks either. I will say I know everything from, obviously from the with mail-in voting. I mean, the reality too is that with mail-in voting clearly being a very prominent way to vote, there is, the Secretary of the Commonwealth, I do think is pushing a lot more of the digital online registration, and you can get your ballot through online and that type of stuff. And I think it's just some modernized ways. But I'll ask her about the memory sticks.
Yeah, so the critical thing to understand is there are paper ballots that underlie this all, and they're kept. All she's talking about is the machines which count when they're inserted, but then those ballots are kept as backup. So if there were a question, you could match the numbers from the machines up against the paper ballot.
Somebody could ask for a recount, but that's
Right.
probably, I just wanted to know how it would, you know.
She's talking
Better
about putting them
understanding
through
of
the
the chip.
Understanding, just 'cause-
She's talking about putting them through to count the ballots, the ones that are voted that day, and as Council Pallavi could probably tell you, as in the old days with the absentee ballots, they would be retained, but on election day is when you would put them through to be
Right.
counted.
Together.
I did that many days, yes. Okay, and one more
Yeah,
thing, Mr. Chairman.
sure.
Last, I just want to thank the EDC and Chairwoman Hamlin for all your work on this. As you can see, this parking is a very passionate thing. And people do get upset. I mean, I personally have been dealing with this for 25, 30, I can't even tell you how long, the downtown parking. And it's very frustrating. And so please take it as passion, not that we were on you about any of your work. Thank you.
Council Plagree.
Let's see, through you, my two things were already said, thank all the volunteers for the Harvest Festival. And secondly, for Bob Catalano, I did get to his time today at the senior center. He couldn't find a parking space. He had so many people there, and it was just wonderful. He sat there, he was a gentleman, and greeted everyone that came in and was so appreciative of everything. So it was a pleasure and honor to be there for him.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you, Council Plagree. Kellen, did I already do you? Council Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a big thank you to all the election workers, the 20 election workers that Nancy has in reserve, her office, herself, all the hard work that goes into making these elections happen. It's a testament to our, town clerk and her office, how well things run. She has no control over what the state does as regards to getting ballots and stuff out. But I would just like to say thank you to all the hardworking people, and I would, I understand Councilor Chandler's point in regards of, it's a little unnerving, but I think I have full faith and trust in our town clerk's office when it comes to that. When it comes to the parking situation, I have to vehemently agree with Councilor Cormier-Ledger in regards to reaching out to Dean College in hopes that with this new partnership, we can make it collaborative and have, albeit maybe if it's a sit-down or some discussion or some kind of literature that goes out to the students and says, okay, hey, maybe we could send a nice courteous thing out to them and say, if you are going to park in these neighborhoods, maybe kid like not park in front of their parking barrels or do something, or their garbage barrels. But that's about it. I honestly think that it was a great Sunday for the Harvest Fest, regardless of the weather and everything that happened. It was still a great event. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor DeLoco.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for the Harvest Fest, and happy birthday to Bobby Catalano. He's probably was one of my father's oldest friends. They were neighbors since they were born, so it goes back a long way. And my father's a little older than him, but they were neighbors. And as far as the parking, what I would do, what we used to do in the city, if you park in front of it, just put the barrel right in front of the car, and you hope the rod goes through the door. That's what you do. They won't park there again. They won't park there again.
Perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
You all set? Thank you.
We won't get sued for that.
Thank you, Councilor DeLoco. Again, thank all the Harvest Festival workers and the people that put that all together and the merchants that came out on a rain date day, which isn't always easy to have to switch everything around. And it was nice to see so many people that did come out on what was a very windy, windy day.
Wow.
On Sunday. So thank everybody for that. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming in support of the Schmitz Farm public hearing this evening, as well as the people that came in regarding the parking issues. The downtown parking has been on town council's agenda as long as I've been here, and I'm sure as long as Glenn's been here, and as long as, for a long time. Anyway, I would like to also congratulate Councilor Jones on attaining his rank of lieutenant, the Sea Cadets?
Lieutenant JG, yes, sir.
Lieutenant JG, sorry.
Thank you.
And lastly, just one quick comment. I did receive a phone call from a resident regarding the South Franklin Meeting House, and specifically to Councilor Cormier-Ledger, I think, brought up the bell, or somebody brought up the bell. I'm not sure who it was. Okay, Councilor Hamblin. I couldn't remember who did. The bottom line was, I guess there's a substantial amount of history with that bell. It's believed that it could have been the bell that originally came from the Franklin Academy, which was up by St. Mary's School many eons ago. So I guess their concern was to make sure that, we can leave the steeple, we don't necessarily need to leave the bell, and maybe the bell, a good place for the bell would be the museum. To that point,
We're happy to do it. The incoming family may want to wake up the kids with the bell too. I'm just, bong, bong, bong.
we'll give them a ding dong.
We'll give 'em-
We'll give them a ding dong. Okay. That's all I had. Again, Jamie, Mark, Alicia, the whole administrative team, Councilor Hamblin, the EDC, a lot of work on that parking. Thank you so much for all that work. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Has someone